Sì, no, per quanto tempo?
Ah, mais ou menos.
Se não for uma
Viveu no momento.
Tudo possível.
Eu sou da tela. Filmar não. Tô sacando. Let's go, Carlos! Vamos, vamos, vamos!
Vamos, Carlos!
Vamos, Carlos!
Ele vai jogar agora. Vou jogar. Dá um corte nesse cara aí. Nossa, você tem pé que ele faz mais 2 horas, né, cara? Tô com 7.
É 7 horas de treino?
É tudo pra ganhar uma taça do Alcaraz, cara.
Eu pulo com a barreira e entro no quadro. Não, se a bola cair debaixo do gol, eu vou dar um combo. Eu bato com o pé ali, ela vem pra cá, eu pulo. Eu tô quase desistindo do norte. Caramba, Carlos, 7 horas de treino. Porra, nem me fode. Olha, que isso?
Mentira, sabe? Pra passar o vídeo.
Nem fudendo. Além da maconha. Quem ganhou?
Ah, tomou lá. O coração tá batendo, né? Mas deve ser pior, né? O jogo dele amanhã. Cada vez mais rapidão.
Tá bom, né? Tá bom. Tenho aula amanhã. Quero ir pra casa. Tá dando cãibra. Muitas. Ô pai, gastou 30 reais na caneta à toa.
Tá à toa, cara. O cara tá mais caro da minha vida.
Onde eu faço? A gente achando que vou brincar mexer em caneta.
Nossa, então. Só pro canal. Seguiu. Museu.
Ih, caralho, trovão. Quando chover vai ser bom. Esse nome? Não, nesse show. Então. Não, ele tá quase acabando. Quase acabando. Nossa, ele vai virar. Caviar!
Play.
Everyone's finally a match that everyone's wanting to see.
Basically, the match today, what we got out of it in terms of Sinner was just the fact that he had some physical issues as usual. As usual with Jannik, it's kind of tough to say whether this is, something serious or not. But there were these 2 games, more or less, when he wasn't covering his forehand corner well or not. like with him, so there's just so many physical cues that you don't know what is actually serious or not. But if he was also hurt in the rallies, that's kind of bringing up some questions in regards to his physical states ahead of the Sunday final, mostly because it's just right after his return, and he's played a few matches that kind of stacks up against you, even if most of them have been pretty short. And if it was best of 5, I'd kind of still like the Alcaraz chances, simply because of what we saw last year. So many of their matches, it was like Jannik comes out with incredible tennis for the first 30 minutes or so. It looks like it might be almost like double bagelish results, and then Carlos just finds a way against Jannik. He's actually a very good tactician all of a sudden. And there were the slices in Indian Wells, there was the moonballing at Roland Garros. Can he do it here? Kind of like, on the Jannik's court, and also best of 3, less time to produce stuff, less time to like use the fact that like over Sinner, he kind of only has the higher number of options. Like that's the only thing he has over Sinner, because shot for shot Sinner is just insane. So if we ignore the hamstring, if we ignore any physical issues, I think it's pretty much close to a 50-50, and it's fascinating to get this matchup here. First of all, because it's their first big final and the biggest match they've played, sort of. I mean, it's probably comparable to Roland Garros semi, especially considering that's the one who won it also won the title. But also because, it's just 2 weeks ahead of Roland Garros. So it's like a perfect lead up to this event, to have a matchup between the top 2 seeds, between the top 2 contenders, and 2 players who are very likely to even meet in that final in Paris again.
Yeah, I think, Ashley, you're asking about the hamstring. We're talking about Sinner. A little bit during the third set, he was kind of pulling up on some running forehands, grabbing the hamstring. And it sounds like, I obviously did not listen to the press conference, but there was a long pause in the post-match interview before he answered a question about the hamstring. So, seems to be downplaying it, which is very Jannik Sinner-esque. And, obviously, as viewers, we hope that there is, nothing there to it. But what I was saying, like before I got cut off, is the fact that, Jannik Sinner has come out and won the first set, multiple times in this matchup. And I feel like that's another thing that Carlos does better with, I guess, like moving along in a match and, picking up rhythm and kind of problem solving a little bit more. Whereas Sinner doesn't really have like, maybe like a plan B in a sense. I don't think, I feel like Carlos is very on the fly himself, but you feel like, you're going to get with Sinner, and he's just going to continue to do it over time. And hopefully that wears you down. Whereas Carlos can kind of present different, I'd say just like weaponry and ability. And it can kind of come out in variance throughout a, obviously a best of 5, but even a 3 set, he has dropped that, the first set like 6-1 in still fun ways. So I just think that's something I'm also thinking about.
It's going to be interesting to see how physical Alcaraz makes it, obviously, with the hamstring and stuff. That's our main talking point. That's nothing. That's the only thing we can take from the Sinner-Paul match. In a very strange match, no real consistency or fluidity to it. Just some brutal shot making from time to time, and 2 sets that were, complete opposites and so similar in the same way. But in the final, it's going to be, who can make more of those ridiculous shots that make the highlight reel, in a sense. Like everyone's has been waiting for this sort of matchup for such a long time in this sort of situation, and everyone's there to see how high the quality can get. Almost, they're pushing the boundaries all the time, and whether they can, whether it is that it goes 7-6, 6-7, 7-6, that would be kind of what everyone's looking at. But I favor Alcaraz mainly because you take the pace off, and Sinner is less comfortable with the less pace you give him. Which, watching that Indian Wells match last year, the more pace that Alcaraz struck the ball back at Sinner, the easier Sinner made it look to just divert that pace straight back onto Alcaraz. And Alcaraz looks a little more in discomfort when Sinner gives him less time on the ball. So yeah, we'll see. But with his slower, he sends it, gives it more airtime. Sinner has to generate his own power. Not saying that Sinner can't generate his own power, because he's still the best in the world at creating it, but he looks less comfortable than when you give him the pace, which Alcaraz clearly has on his forehand and his backhand.
Yeah, it's the biggest matchup in tennis for sure. I think it was in 2024 already. It seems to be the one that will decide this generation, this era. So I think that's absolutely fantastic that we're getting it. Hopefully there's no physical question marks for either player. And yeah, just to have this ahead of Roland Garros, I do think it's a good privilege to have, for sure. And it's going to change a lot of our opinions as well. Like, regardless of what we're going to see in this one, I think it's going to change a lot of our opinions regarding of the power rankings ahead of RG. They're clearly the top two favorites regardless. Nobody else really compares right now. I would say for now Alcaraz is slightly ahead, but ask me this question again if Jannik beats him on Sunday, because the answers might be very different by then. So this is really quite pivotal in both the long term and the short term of tennis.
I would like it if it went to like a third set break and Sinner had no physical issues. I feel like that would be like a really nice sort of like way to top off this sort of like rivalry for the game. And that's what these two are so well matched that you kind of hope it gets that close. Like, it's almost like it's like 12-10 in a third set tiebreak, and there's like everyone's kind of expecting this match to be like the Sabalenka-Swiatek match in Madrid final every single time they play, right? But it's not going to be. It can't be like that every single time, otherwise that'd be crazy. But
could it be a setback for the entire ATP if it's a blowout? I mean, if it's a blowout in Carlos's favor, you're always gonna say slow clay. Jannik just came back, so there's like a lot of potential, excuses in a way, even though it wouldn't need an excuse. If Jannik wins and like he just starts winning 50 matches, it's still a big story then, because he's Italian. There's a big market there right now. Obviously, we have, as one of you mentioned, 2 finalists, both sides. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a setback either way, really. It could be potentially more in Jannik's, but not really. I mean, the story of domination is also one that, at least for a while, is definitely marketable.
Right. I mean, this tournament alone, getting here, depending on your knowledge of tennis, the opponents he had to play, obviously very difficult. And Casper Ruud, I mean, speaks for itself. So, like, we already have plenty of storyline to go off of, and just hope we get a good one and then get to see it again in 3 weeks.
I mean, literal number one has played tennis his whole life. I understand what you mean, Pubert, but the only thing that the break means is not with Sinner's level. It's with Sinner's physicality, and just the fact that if you haven't competed in a few months, it's not that easy to play 6 matches in a row. So that's the only thing that we're talking about in terms of the break. Like, obviously the Sinner level, he was just playing anyway, right? I mean, I don't care, like the whole practice ban thing, it's not actually, he was obviously still able to practice, just not in like official capacity, let's say. So yeah, I mean, we were expecting his level to be high, but it's not always easy to just like jump back into it. It's not, you're never really going to be able to like mimic the competition, mimic like the whole feel of playing a tournament. Obviously he's done that very well so far. Now it's just like whether the 6 matches kind of stuck up against him or not. Today we've seen some indication that they might, but then again, if he's saying that all the issues with like covering his forehand corner in the third set, that it's just the blister.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Play.
Everyone's finally a matchup that everyone's wanting to see.
Basically, the match today, what we got out of it in terms of Sinner was just the fact that he had some physical issues as usual. As usual with Jannik, it's kind of tough to say whether this is, something serious or not. But there were these two games, more or less, when he wasn't covering his forehand corner well or not. Like with him, so there's just so many physical cues that you don't know what is actually serious or not. But if he was also hurt in the rallies, that's kind of bringing up some questions in regards to his physical states ahead of the Sunday final. Mostly because, it's just right after his return, and he's played a few matches that kind of stacks up against you, even if most of them have been pretty short. And if it was best of 5, I'd kind of still like the Alcaraz chances simply because of what we saw last year. So many of their matches, it was like Jannik comes out with incredible tennis for the first 30 minutes or so. It looks like it might be almost like double bagelish results, and then Carlos just finds a way against Jannik. He's actually a very, very good tactician all of a sudden. And there were the slices in Indian Wells. There was the moonballing at Roland Garros. Can he do it here? Kind of like, on Jannik's court, and also best of 3, less time to produce stuff, less time to like use the fact that like over Sinner, he kind of only has the higher number of options. Like that's the only thing he has over Sinner, because shot for shot Sinner is just insane. So yeah, if we ignore the hamstring, if we ignore any physical issues, I think it's pretty much close to a 50-50, and it's fascinating to get this matchup here. First of all, because it's their first big final and the biggest match they've played, sort of. I mean, it's probably comparable to Roland Garros semi, especially considering that's the one who won it also won the title. But also because, yeah, it's just 2 weeks ahead of Roland Garros. So it's like a perfect lead up to this event, to have a matchup between the top 2 seeds, between the top 2 contenders, and 2 players who are very likely to even meet in that final in Paris again.
Yeah, I think, Ashley, you're asking about the hamstring. We're talking about Sinner. A little bit during the third set, he was kind of pulling up on some running forehands, grabbing the hamstring. And it sounds like, I obviously did not listen to the press conference, but there was a long pause in the post-match interview before he answered a question about the hamstring. So, it seems to be downplaying it, which is very Jannik Sinner-esque. And, obviously, as viewers, we hope that there is, nothing there to it. But, yeah, what I was saying, like, before I got cut off, is the fact that, Jannik Sinner has come out and won the first set, multiple times in this matchup. And I feel like that's another thing that Carlos does better with, I guess, like moving along in a match and, picking up rhythm and kind of problem solving a little bit more. Whereas Sinner doesn't really have like, maybe like a plan B in a sense. I don't think, I feel like Carlos is very on the fly himself, but you feel like, you're going to get with Sinner and he's just going to continue to do it over time. And hopefully that wears you down. Whereas Carlos can kind of present different, I'd say just like weaponry and ability. And it can kind of come out in variance throughout a, obviously a best of 5, but even a 3-set, he has dropped that, the first set like 6-1 and still found ways. So I just think that's something I'm also thinking about.
It's going to be interesting to see how physical Alcaraz makes it, obviously, with the hamstring and stuff. That's our main talking point. That's nothing. That's the only thing we can take from this Sinner-Paul match. In a very strange match, no real consistency or fluidity to it. Just some brutal shot making from time to time, and 2 sets that were, complete opposites and so similar in the same way. But yeah, in the final, it's going to be, who can make more of those ridiculous shots that make the highlight reel, in a sense. Like everyone's has been waiting for this sort of matchup for such a long time in this sort of situation. Everyone's there to see how high the quality can get. Almost, they're pushing the boundaries all the time, and whether they can, whether it is that it goes 7-6, 6-7, 7-6. That would be kind of what everyone's looking at. But yeah, I favor Alcaraz mainly because you take the pace off, and Sinner is less comfortable with the less pace you give him. Which, watching that Indian Wells match last year, the more pace that Alcaraz struck the ball back at Sinner, the easier Sinner made it look to just divert that pace straight back onto Alcaraz. And Alcaraz looks a little more in discomfort when Sinner, gives him less time on the ball. So yeah, we'll see. But when it's slower, he sends it, gives it more airtime. Sinner has to generate his own power. Not saying that Sinner can't generate his own power, because he's still the best in the world at creating it, but he looks less comfortable than when you give him the pace, which Alcaraz clearly has on his forehand and his backhand.
Yeah, it's the biggest matchup in tennis for sure. I think it wasn't generation, this era. So I think that's absolutely fantastic that we're getting it. Hopefully, there's no physical question marks for either player. And yeah, just to have this ahead of Roland Garros, I do think it's a good privilege to have for sure. And it's going to change a lot of our opinions as well. Like regardless of what we're going to see in this one, I think it's going to change a lot of our opinions regarding of the power rankings ahead of RG. They're clearly the top two favorites regardless. Nobody else really compares right now. I would say for now Alcaraz is slightly ahead, but ask me this question again if Jannik beats him on Sunday, because the answers might be very different by then. So this is really quite pivotal in both the long term and the short term of tennis.
I would like it if it went to like a third set break and Sinner had no physical issues. I feel like that would be like a really nice sort of like way to top off this sort of like rivalry for the game. And that's what these two are so well matched that you kind of hope it gets that close. Like it's almost like it's like 12-10 in a third set tiebreak, and there's like everyone's kind of expecting this match to be like the Sabalenka-Swiatek match in Madrid final every single time they play, right? But it's not going to be. It can't be like that every single time, otherwise that'd be crazy. But
could it be a setback for the entire ATP if it's a blowout? I mean, if it's a blowout in Carlos's favor, you're always gonna say slow clay. Jannik just came back, so there's like a lot of potential, excuses in a way, even though it wouldn't need an excuse. If Jannik wins and like he just starts winning 50 matches, it's still a big story then, because he's Italian. There's a big market there right now. Obviously, we have, as one of you mentioned, 2 finalists, both sides. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a setback either way, really. It could be potentially more in Jannik's, but not really. I mean, the story of domination is also one that, at least for a while, is definitely marketable.
Right. I mean, this tournament alone, getting here, depending on your knowledge of tennis, the opponents he had to play, obviously very difficult. And Casper Ruud, I mean, speaks for itself. So, like, we already have plenty of storyline to go off of, and just hope we get a good one and then get to see it again in 3 weeks.
I mean, literal number one has played tennis his whole life. I understand what you mean, Pubert, but the only thing that the break means is not with Sinner's level. It's with Sinner's physicality, and just the fact that if you haven't competed in a few months, it's not that easy to play 6 matches in a row. So that's the only thing that we're talking about in terms of the break. Like, obviously the Sinner level, he was just playing anyway, right? I mean, I don't care, like the whole practice ban thing, it's not actually, he was obviously still able to practice, just not in like official capacity, let's say. So yeah, I mean, we were expecting his level to be high, but it's not always easy to just like jump back into it. It's not, you're never really going to be able to like mimic the competition, mimic like the whole feel of playing a tournament. Obviously, he's done that very well so far. Now it's just like whether the 6 matches kind of stuck up against him or not. Today, we've seen some indication that they might. But then again, if he's saying that all the issues with like covering his forehand corner in the third set, that it's just the blister.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
My name is Zainab Samas, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
And we are back.
That we are. That we are.
Thrilled as ever. Damien looks ready to roll.
I'm just, let's just go. I mean, I was already in the mood, I was already middle of the preview, and then suddenly,
Wait, save it for the preview. Right, let's go. Let's do women's final first. Okay, so
Okay, I like that. Switch it up.
Paolini versus Goff. I don't know their head-to-head off the top of my head. Damien probably does.
Ready? Play.
Everyone's finally a matchup that everyone's wanting to see.
Basically, the match today, what we got out of it in terms of Sinner was just the fact that he had some physical issues as usual. As usual with Jannik, it's kind of tough to say whether this is, something serious or not. But there were these two games, more or less, when he wasn't covering his forehand corner well or not. Like with him, so there's just so many physical cues that you don't know what is actually serious or not. But if he was also hurt in the rallies, that's kind of bringing up some questions in regards to his physical state ahead of the Sunday final. Mostly because, it's just right after his return. And, he's played a few matches that kind of stacks up against you, even if most of them have been pretty short. And if it was best of 5, I'd kind of still like the Alcaraz chances simply because of what we saw last year. So many of their matches, it was like Jannik comes out with incredible tennis for the first 30 minutes or so. It looks like it might be almost like double bagel-ish results. And then Carlos just finds a way against Jannik. He's actually a very good tactician all of a sudden. And there were the slices in Indian Wells. There was the moon bowling at Roland Garros. Can he do it here? Kind of like, on Jannik's court, and also best of 3, less time to produce stuff, less time to use the fact that over Sinner, he kind of only has the higher number of options. That's the only thing he has over Sinner, because shot for shot Sinner is just insane. So if we ignore the hamstring, if we ignore any physical issues, I think it's pretty much close to a 50-50, and it's fascinating to get this matchup here. First of all, because it's their first big final and the biggest match they've played, sort of. I mean, it's probably comparable to Roland Garros semi, especially considering that's the one who won it also won the title. But also because, it's just 2 weeks ahead of Roland Garros. So it's like a perfect lead up to this event to have a matchup between the top 2 seeds, between the top 2 contenders, and 2 players who are very likely to even meet in that final in Paris again.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, Ashley, you're asking about the hamstring. We're talking about Sinner. A little bit during the third set, he was kind of pulling up on some running forehands, grabbing the hamstring. And it sounds like, I obviously did not listen to the press conference, but there was a long pause in the post-match interview before he answered a question about the hamstring. So, I mean, seems to be downplaying it, which is very Jannik Sinner-esque. And, you know, obviously, as viewers, we hope that there is, you know, nothing there to it. But yeah, what I was saying, like, before I got cut off is the fact that, you know, Jannik Sinner has come out and won the first set, you know, multiple times in this matchup. And I feel like that's another thing that Carlos does better with, I guess, like moving along in a match and, you know, picking up rhythm and kind of problem solving a little bit more. Whereas Sinner doesn't really have like maybe like a plan B in a sense. I don't think, I feel like Carlos is very on the fly himself, but you feel like, you know, you're going to get with Sinner and he's just going to continue to do it over time. And hopefully that wears you down. Whereas Carlos can kind of present different, I'd say just like weaponry and ability. And it can kind of come out in variance throughout a, you know, obviously a best of 5, but even a 3-set, you know, he has dropped that, you know, the first set like 6-1 and still found ways. So I just think that's something I'm also thinking about.
It's going to be interesting to see how physical Alcaraz makes it, obviously, with the hamstring and stuff. That's our main talking point. There's nothing, that's the only thing we can take from this Sinner-Paul match. I mean, in a very strange match, no real consistency or fluidity to it. Just some brutal shot making from time to time and 2 sets that were, you know, complete opposites and so similar in the same way. But yeah, in the final, it's going to be, you know, who can make more of those ridiculous shots that make the highlight reel, in a sense, you know, like everyone's has been waiting for this sort of matchup for such a long time in this sort of situation. And everyone's there to see how high the quality can get almost, you know, they're pushing the boundaries all the time and whether they can, you know, whether it is that it goes 7-6, 6-7, 7-6, you know, that would be kind of what everyone's looking at. But yeah, I favor Alcaraz mainly because you take the pace off and Sinner is less comfortable with the less pace you give him. Which, watching that Indian Wells match last year, you know, the more pace that Alcaraz struck the ball back at Sinner, the easier Sinner made it look to just divert that pace straight back onto Alcaraz, you know, and Alcaraz looks a little more in discomfort when Sinner, you know, gives him less time on the ball. So yeah, we'll see. But with his slower, you know, he sends it, gives it more airtime, you know, Sinner has to generate his own power. Not saying that Sinner can't generate his own power because he's still the best in the world at creating it, but he looks less comfortable than when you give him the pace, which Alcaraz clearly has on his forehand and his backhand.
Yeah, it's the biggest matchup in tennis for sure. I think it was in 2024 already. It seems to be the one that will like decide this generation, this era. So I think that's absolutely fantastic that we're getting it. Hopefully there's no you know, physical question marks for either player. And yeah, just to have this ahead of Roland Garros, I do think it's a good privilege to have for sure. And it's going to change a lot of our opinions as well. Like, regardless of what we're going to see in this one, I think it's going to change a lot of our opinions regarding of you know, the power rankings ahead of RG. They're clearly the top 2 favorites regardless. Nobody else really compares right now. I would say for now Alcaraz is slightly ahead, but you know, ask me this question again if Jannik beats him on Sunday, because the answers might be very different by then. So this is really quite pivotal in both the long term and the short term of tennis.
I would like it if it went to like a 3rd set break and Sinner had no physical issues. I feel like that would be like a really nice sort of like way to top off this sort of like rivalry for the game. And, you know, that's what these two are so well matched that you kind of hope it gets that close. Like, it's almost like it's like 12-10 in a 3rd set tiebreak, and there's like everyone's kind of expecting this match to be like the Sabalenka-Swiatek match in Madrid final every single time they play, right? But it's not going to be. It can't be like that every single time, otherwise that'd be crazy. But
Could
Yeah,
it
I
be a
mean,
setback for the entire ATP if it's a blowout? I mean, if it's a blowout in Carlos's favor, you're always gonna say slow clay. Jannik just came back, so there's like a lot of potential, excuses in a way, even though it wouldn't need an excuse. If Jannik wins and like he just starts winning 50 matches, it's still a big story then because he's Italian. There's a big market there right now. Obviously, we have, as one of you mentioned, 2 finalists, both sides. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a setback either way, really. It could be potentially more in Yannick's, but not really. I mean, the story of domination is also one that, at least for a while, is definitely marketable.
right. I mean, this tournament alone, getting here, depending on your knowledge of tennis, the opponents he had to play, obviously very difficult. And Casper Ruud, I mean, speaks for itself. So, like, we already have plenty of storyline to go off of, and just hope we get a good one and then get to see it again in 3 weeks.
I mean, literal number one has played tennis his whole life. I understand what you mean, Pubert, but the only thing that the break means is not with Sinner's level. It's with Sinner's physicality and just the fact that if you haven't competed in a few months, it's not that easy to play 6 matches in a row. So that's the only thing that we're talking about in terms of the break. Like, obviously, the Sinner level, he was just playing anyway, right? I mean, I don't care, like the whole practice ban thing, it's not actually, he was obviously still able to practice, just not in like official capacity, let's say. So yeah, I mean, we were expecting his level to be high, but it's not always easy to just like jump back into it. It's not, you're never really going to be able to like mimic the competition, mimic like the whole feel of playing a tournament. Obviously, he's done that very well so far. Now it's just like whether the 6 matches kind of stuck up against him or not. Today, we've seen some indication that they might. But then again, if he's saying that all the issues with like covering his forehand corner in the third set, that it's just the blister.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Ready. Play.
Everyone's finally a match that everyone's wanting to see.
Basically, the match today, what we got out of it in terms of Sinner was just the fact that he had some physical issues as usual. As usual with Jannik, it's kind of tough to say whether this is, something serious or not. But there were these 2 games, more or less, when he wasn't covering his forehand corner well or not. Like with him, so there's just so many physical cues that you don't know what is actually serious or not. But if he was also hurt in the rallies, that's kind of bringing up some questions in regards to his physical state ahead of the Sunday final. Mostly because, it's just right after his return, and he's played a few matches that kind of stacks up against you, even if most of them have been pretty short. And if it was best of 5, I'd kind of still like the Alcaraz chances, simply because of what we saw last year. So many of their matches, it was like Jannik comes out with incredible tennis for the first 30 minutes or so. It looks like it might be almost like double bagelish results, and then Carlos just finds a way against Jannik. He's actually a very good tactician all of a sudden. And there were the slices in Indian Wells. There was the moonballing at Roland Garros. Can he do it here? Kind of like, on Jannik's court, and also best of 3, less time to produce stuff, less time to like use the fact that like over Sinner, he kind of only has, the higher number of options. Like that's the only thing he has over Sinner, because shot for shot Sinner is just insane. So if we ignore the hamstring, if we ignore any physical issues, I think it's pretty much close to a 50-50, and it's fascinating to get this matchup here. First of all, because it's their first big final and the biggest match they've played, sort of. I mean, it's probably comparable to Roland Garros semi, especially considering that's the one who won it also won the title. But also because, yeah, it's just 2 weeks ahead of Roland Garros. So it's like a perfect lead up to this event to have a matchup between the top two seeds, between the top two contenders, and two players who are very likely to even meet in that final in Paris again.
Yeah, I think, Ashley, you're asking about the hamstring. We're talking about Sinner. A little bit during the third set, he was kind of pulling up on some running forehands, grabbing the hamstring, and it sounds like, I obviously did not listen to the press conference, but there was a long pause in the post-match interview before he answered a question about the hamstring. So, I mean, seems to be downplaying it, which is very Jannik Sinner-esque. And, obviously, as viewers, we hope that there is, nothing there to it. But yeah, what I was saying, like before I got cut off, is the fact that, Jannik Sinner has come out and won the first set, multiple times in this matchup. And I feel like that's another thing that Carlos does better with, I guess, like moving along in a match and, picking up rhythm and kind of problem solving a little bit more. Whereas Sinner doesn't really have like, maybe like a plan B in a sense. I don't think, I feel like Carlos is very on the fly himself, but you feel like, you're going to get with Sinner and he's just going to continue to do it over time. And hopefully that wears you down. Whereas Carlos can kind of present different, I'd say just like weaponry and ability. And it can kind of come out in variance throughout a, obviously a best of 5, but even a 3-set, he has dropped that, the first set like 6-1 and still found ways. So I just think that's something I'm also thinking about.
It's going to be interesting to see how physical Alcaraz makes it, obviously, with the hamstring and stuff. That's our main talking point. That's nothing. That's the only thing we can take from the Sinner-Paul match. I mean, in a very strange match, no real consistency or fluidity to it. Just some brutal shot making from time to time, and 2 sets that were, complete opposites and so similar in the same way. But yeah, in the final, it's going to be, who can make more of those ridiculous shots that make the highlight reel, in a sense, like everyone's has been waiting for this sort of matchup for such a long time in this sort of situation. And everyone's there to see how high the quality can get almost, they're pushing the boundaries all the time, and whether they can, whether it is that it goes 7-6, 6-7, 7-6, that would be kind of what everyone's looking at. But yeah, I favor Alcaraz mainly because you take the pace off and Sinner is less comfortable with the less pace you give him. Which, watching that Indian Wells match last year, the more pace that Alcaraz struck the ball back at Sinner, the easier Sinner made it look to just divert that pace straight back onto Alcaraz, and Alcaraz looks a little more in discomfort when Sinner, gives him less time on the ball. So yeah, we'll see. But when it's slower, he sends it, gives it more airtime. Sinner has to generate his own power. Not saying that Sinner can't generate his own power, because he's still the best in the world at creating it, but he looks less comfortable than when you give him the pace, which Alcaraz clearly has on his forehand and his backhand.
Yeah, it's the biggest matchup in tennis for sure. I think it was in 2024 already. It seems to be the one that will decide this generation, this era. So I think that's absolutely fantastic that we're getting it. Hopefully there's no physical question marks for either player. And yeah, just to have this ahead of Roland Garros, I do think it's a good privilege to have, for sure. And it's going to change a lot of our opinions as well. Like, regardless of what we're going to see in this one, I think it's going to change a lot of our opinions regarding of the power rankings ahead of RG. They're clearly the top 2 favorites regardless. Nobody else really compares right now. I would say for now Alcaraz is slightly ahead, but ask me this question again if Jannik beats him on Sunday, because the answers might be very different by then. So this is really quite pivotal in both the long term and the short term of tennis.
I would like it if it went to like a third set break and Sinner had no physical issues. I feel like that would be like a really nice sort of like way to top off this sort of like rivalry for the game. And you know, that's what these two are so well matched that you kind of hope it gets that close. Like it's almost like it's like 12-10 in a third set tiebreak, and there's like everyone's kind of expecting this match to be like the Sabalenka-Swiatek match in Madrid final every single time they play, right? But it's not going to be. It can't be like that every single time, otherwise that'd be crazy. But
could it be a setback for the entire ATP if it's a blowout? I mean, if it's a blowout in Carlos's favor, you're always gonna say slow clay. Jannik just came back, so there's like a lot of potential, excuses in a way, even though it wouldn't need an excuse. If Jannik wins and like he just starts winning 50 matches, it's still a big story then, because he's Italian. There's a big market there right now. Obviously, we have, as one of you mentioned, 2 finalists, both sides. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a setback either way, really. It could be potentially more in Jannik's, but not really. I mean, the story of domination is also one that, at least for a while, is definitely marketable.
Right. I mean, this tournament alone, getting here, depending on your knowledge of tennis, the opponents he had to play, obviously very difficult. And Casper Ruud, I mean, speaks for itself. So, like, we already have plenty of storyline to go off of, and just hope we get a good one and then get to see it again in 3 weeks.
I mean, literal number one has played tennis his whole life. I understand what you mean, Pubert, but the only thing that the break means is not with Sinner's level. It's with Sinner's physicality, and just the fact that if you haven't competed in a few months, it's not that easy to play 6 matches in a row. So that's the only thing that we're talking about in terms of the break. Like, obviously the Sinner level, he was just playing anyway, right? I mean, I don't care, like the whole practice ban thing, it's not actually, he was obviously still able to practice, just not in like official capacity, let's say. So yeah, I mean, we were expecting his level to be high, but it's not always easy to just like jump back into it. It's not, you're never really going to be able to like mimic the competition, mimic like the whole feel of playing a tournament. Obviously, he's done that very well so far. Now it's just like whether the 6 matches kind of stuck up against him or not. Today, we've seen some indication that they might. But then again, if he's saying that all the issues with like covering his forehand corner in the third set, that it's just the blister.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
My name is Zainab Summers, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, My name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is in the world, wherever you are tuning in from. I hope you can all hear me loud and clear. Do get voting in our poll, either on Twitter, which you can see right in front of you, or also on YouTube. In the chat box, you'll see the opportunity to vote there as well. I think the Sinner vote was winning last I saw on the YouTube poll. Do let me know in the live chat if that has changed. Hi, Jake. Lots of speculation as to who would be today's commentator. Well, you have me, which probably means that my stream will be slightly behind. Talking of slightly behind, the match has yet to start. Was due to start at 5 o'clock, or at least expecting the players to come on court at 5 o'clock. However, they are not. Let's change my name, which says coming soon right now. But of course, I'm here, albeit that the match is not. Let's see if I can alter my name. I can definitely alter it. But anyway, either way, as you can see, the poll on Twitter is slightly different, with a 56% favoring Alcaraz to win, with 44% going for Sinner. That's obviously rounding up to the nearest place. Yeah, and let me know in the live chat who you think is going to win. By the way, if you do want some Brenner action, you'll be pleased to know that Brenner will be joining probably myself for a French Open qualifying show, which we'll have on in about 2 or 3 hours, depending on how long this takes. And if you want some Nick Carter or some Jack action, you can tune into WTA Weekly, which will be about, I think, 10 o'clock UK time, 11 o'clock Central European time, which I think is 5 o'clock Eastern time, and 2 p.m. Pacific time, and somewhere else, some other time. Yeah, the players have yet to even enter the court. I'm going to speculate and say that they should be doing so in the next couple of minutes. I can see the crowd and also everybody else eagerly awaiting their arrival, and then the match should start a few minutes after that. So fingers crossed the match will be underway by 5:30 p.m. local time. So that's half past the hour for most time zones, for those wondering what time they will get underway. Yeah, so lots of things to come both now and in the future. Hit the like button, by the way, on this video. We have 60 people watching live on YouTube. We do need you to hit that like button. And of course, if you are new to the channel, please do hit subscribe. Yeah, so please do that if you can. Let me know your predictions as well. Who are we thinking will win this particular encounter? I think it's a 50-50. The longer time has gone on since their semi-finals on Friday, the more I have started to think maybe it's going to be a Jannik Sinner day. A lot will depend on his hamstring. Let's have a quick look as well at how these players arrived at the final. Jannik Sinner, of course, overcoming Tommy Paul in 3 sets in that semi-final. A pretty weird semi-final, I would suggest, especially the fact that he was very close to being bageled in the first, winning just 1 game in the end. But before that, he began with a tricky encounter over Navoni, winning that one in straight sets. Then the de Jong encounter, which was actually a lot closer than that scoreline suggests. I think it might have been a hamstring injury for Jesper, or an injury of some sort in that second set, basically with Sinner leading, I think, 4-2. But that sort of gave a slightly more lopsided feel to that scoreline. But the real standout result en route was that Jannik Sinner Casper Ruud quarterfinal, where he lost just 1 game, with Casper just smiling at the net because he didn't really know which way to go but loose at the end of that match. But anyway, then of course he came through Tommy Paul, and now of course he's up against Carlos Alcaraz. The Alcaraz, of course, Sinner head-to-head, not including their encounter at a challenger in Alicante, is 6-4. The Alicante challenger also went the way of Carlos Alcaraz. So, yeah. We've got someone on the keyboard still waiting for these players to enter the court. They should be there any second. Fingers crossed. But yes, as I said before, please, if you are new to the channel, do hit subscribe. And even if you are old to the channel, there is a like button. We'd love you to hit that. If you want to join the channel, much like somebody did earlier, by the way, and I apologize, I can't recall your name, but somebody joined us. Carl, thank you very much. Yeah, Carl joined us as a member earlier on. So big thanks to you, Carl. And if you want to be cool like Carl, you can hit the join button and join us for as little as €2 or $2 per month. You'll be supporting the channel, but you'll also get perks, including bonus material. Okay, back to the tennis. So yeah, 6-4 is their head-to-head. I think most of our panel were leaning Alcaraz, but I think Damien called it a 50-50, and I would be hard to disagree. But yes, having a look at some of their previous, at least main tour encounters. The most recent, by the way, came in Beijing, which feels like an age ago. Let's get rid of this like button so you can have a look at this. So yeah, their first encounter was on indoor hard in Paris-Bercy in 2021, which went the way of Alcaraz. Right now, by the way, if they play on indoor hard, is a clear favorite. So it is all about the conditions where things change dramatically. I think the slower that they happen to be on a hard court, in particular, say Indian Wells, you would probably lean Carlos. On grass, probably Carlos as well, just because of his pedigree, in particular at Wimbledon, but also having won a Queen's title. But the slicker and harder the hard court, the more you would favor Jannik. Talking of which, he's talking right now. Oh, he's speaking in German. But yeah, I'm just looking. I think their UMAG clash, which came in 2022, was their first on clay. That went the way of Jannik Sinner. But their most recent encounter on clay, which is probably more relevant, was a 5-set win for Carlos. Again, conditions. I think 5 sets on clay, you'd probably be a little bit more favoring Carlos. But 3 sets on clay and in Rome, maybe Jannik. It's yeah. Keep up at the back. I'm sure a lot of these sort of circumstances are a bit confusing. Let's see what Carlos got to say. Yeah. Still, the players are not on court. Let me know on the live chat as well what you're thinking. Maybe you agree or disagree with some of my thoughts. Hi, Ashley. Yeah, let me have a quick look at the French Open qualifying. We've got a French Open qualifying draw show, Ashley, that'll be following this show immediately. We will reveal all of the all the questions that you may or may not have regarding the French Open draw in that show. So please do join us for that. That'll be coming up immediately after the end, or not immediately, but shortly after the end of this show. So yeah, you can obviously catch up with us for that one. We'll let you know all the Bernie Tomic news you need to know then as well, and give you a preview for that particular tournament. Of course, French Open qualifying, I think, gets underway tomorrow. And now finally, I can see Jannik Sinner in a tunnel. I can also see him with the Pope, but that's obviously not now. That's from a couple of days ago when he met the Pope in Rome, the newly anointed Pope, that is, of course. But yeah, we'll have French Open qualifying preview for you shortly at the end of this show. So please stay with us. Hit the notification bell, and yeah, and you'll get that show for you shortly after that. Now I see Alcaraz in the tunnel, so the players are now finally coming on court. Alcaraz is coming on first. Of course, he's ranked 3 in the world. He will be ranked 2 in the world after this match, whatever happens today. So it'll be Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz seeded 1 and 2 for the French Open. That will then bump down Alexander Zverev to 3. So Zverev could be a potential semi-finalist for one of these two. In fact, again, that may well also influence which way you think the French Open is going to go. If Jannik Sinner ends up being in the same half as Zverev, I think that'll be a huge thing to look forward to when the draw comes out. We'll have the draw live on the channel. I think on Thursday afternoon, it normally is, I think. So that's all to look forward to in the future. But in the immediate future, we have Jannik Sinner against Carlos Alcaraz. Finally, both players are on court. I'm sure they'll be warming up for you very shortly. So therefore, in less than 10 minutes, we will finally be underway. We've also got WTA Weekly on tonight as well with Nick and Jack. Looking back on Jasmine Paolini's sensational run to the title in Rome, sensational it was. So many times she was staring down the barrel. Who can forget 4-love down to Schneider in the second set, down a set and 4-love. Somehow coming back to win that and then ultimately taking the title. Incredibly. Alcaraz is on court, bouncing up and down, awaiting Jannik. The contrast of styles between these two players makes it even more mesmerizing. Adding a syllable in there, I don't know where that came from. Greg Allensworth is the umpire today. I think I recall him getting some barrels of something or other from Riley Opelka earlier this year. Jannik Sinner instructing one of the children to look towards the camera. Jannik in all black. Will that mirror his mood later on today? Time will tell. I think really, though, it's been a pretty successful tournament for Jannik, no matter what happens. There will be, of course, pressure on him in terms of playing in front of his own crowd. But in a way, it's Carlos that has a bit more pressure to sort of maintain that slight favorite status, I would imagine, that he has, either with the bookies, but also I think many of the talking tennis community, at least, having just him as a slight favorite going to the French Open right now. But that would change if he were to lose today. Nerlan, tell me. Jake, how's my day been? Well, I'll tell you, Man United didn't lose today. So it's true that they didn't play, but they didn't lose. So therefore it's good. Good that we played on Friday, by the way. When did Spurs play? Just thinking about they played Friday as well. Okay, and they lost to Villa. Just thinking about the Europa League final, of course, in 3 days, coming up in Bilbao. That will not be on Talking Tennis. Maybe we should have a different show for that. But anyway, the players are warming up, just now practicing serves, which means they're very, very close to starting. Both players, of course, right-handed. Both players two-handed backhand. Lorenzo Mercedes, of course, who made the semi-final before losing to Alcaraz in straight sets. He's the one-handed. Carlos Alcaraz, the slightly younger player, is he? He's 22. This year has a win-loss record of 29-5. Pretty good for 99% of the tour, but maybe Alcaraz's defeats in Australia and Indian Wells, I think, would hurt a little bit more. That Goffin one is a little inexplicable. He has 6 ATP Masters 1000 titles in 30 appearances. That's a 1 in 5 ratio. Not bad. Not bad at all. And yeah, so his route to the final included wins over Lajovic and Jeddah in straight sets. He had a 3-setter with Khachanov, but of course he was up a set and a break, I think, in that one before making that into a dog fight. Then he beats Draper in straight sets and then Musetti as well. That's his route to the final. The practicing serves right now, so we are seconds away from getting underway in the Italian capital. For those of you tuning in and haven't already done so, please do hit that like button. Let's share the score with you on the screen. Just says delayed on here right now. Yeah, I don't know what the delay was exactly. Maybe just a huge number of people trying to squeeze in to the Foro Italico. So yeah, 1 each on clay is their record. Of course, the first meeting quite some time ago in 2022, at least by their standards. 4 sets each. Of course, 5 of those sets coming in the French Open last year in their most recent encounter on clay. Oh, Kira, probably, yeah. I haven't spoken to her for a while, but I know she's studying hard. And thank you for your donation, Ashley. You can also be cool and hit a donation too, just like Ashley did. You can also become a member, just like Carl did too. Ashley and Carl are both members, which means they get extra footage. But anyway, here we go with the highly anticipated, probably the most anticipated match, at least since the Australian Open, but arguably of the year.
Jannik Sinner seeded 1, Carlos Alcaraz seeded 3, but they will be seeded 1 and 2 at the upcoming French Open. Alcaraz won the toss and chose to receive, so it is Jannik Sinner to get us underway here in Rome for this highly anticipated final. The final last year, I don't think it's unfair to say it was slightly less anticipated between Nicolas Jarry and Alexander Zverev. Zverev is the reigning champion, but he fell at the quarterfinal stage to Lorenzo Musetti, who ultimately lost to Alcaraz. Anyway, Sinner into the net on the first serve, so it will be a second serve here for Senor Alcaraz to look at. Backhand return, took a little funny bounce there. A little bit of fortune for Jannik to get that first point. Lots of these orange hats. I saw Connor Joyce tweeting about those earlier today, saying they were very popular amongst the crowd. I think 30 euros was the price. So you can support Jannik Sinner. There will be an award ceremony at the end of the match, by the way, which will be called the Golden Racket. I think I saw that, Francesca Schiavone and Mats Wilander will be awarded the Golden Racket on centre court. So this court here, just after the match finishes, or sometime after the match finishes. Jannik Sinner goes long on the forehand side. He wasn't making too many of those errors in his quarterfinal win over Casper Ruud that brought a smile to Casper's face. But anyway, 15-all. Okay, so Jannik Sinner to serve 15-all. Down the tee, is that an ace? It is. Let me know in the live chat. I will come to the live chat at various junctures, probably after the first game, for example. Who do you think has the better serve right now, Sinner or Alcaraz? I'm probably just leaning Jannik. He made some big improvements in 2024 and to some extent 2023 on that serve. And he's reaped the reward since. It's probably the most improved area of his game, other than just being much more solid and probably a little bit more durable as well. To the backhand, it's a lovely kick on that one. And I think it's helped him win the point because that return has long and wide from Alcaraz. So it is 40-15, 2 game points for Jannik to potentially win this first game of the final. 2 minutes on the clock, just after 5:30 local time. Pretty much started at bang on 5:30. Let's say a little bit later than they anticipated. Jannik into the net on that first serve. And in the net on the second serve as well. So double fault there for Jannik. There are worse times to be producing that double fault, to be fair. Going to see if I can get a slightly faster stream. Yes, okay, my phone is a faster stream, so fingers crossed. That will be a little bit more in line. I think that Jannik has indeed held serve in this first game. Yeah, I think so. Ashley, do tune in for our French Open qualifying preview, which will come up. I've changed streams now, Ashley, so fingers crossed I'll be a bit more on pace. But yeah, our French Open qualifying stream with Brenner will be on shortly after this final. And we also have WTA Weekly as well, where Nick and Jack will be discussing Jasmine Paolini's title-winning run in the Italian capital. Okay, so Sinner here now receiving forehand from Alcaraz. Interesting that Alcaraz chose to receive in that first game. Hi, Aura here. Do hit the like button and please hit subscribe just below the screen. And I urge you all to do that. Forehand to forehand here. And it's helped Alcaraz win that first point. I think there's little doubt about that, Ashley. I think it's no offense to Jaime Faria or to Susan Lehman's and many others that are friends of the show. But I think Jasmine's 2 Grand Slam finals and 2 1,000 titles suggest that's it. It's on Tennis TV, as Ashley suggests, amongst others. Hi, Lexi. Good to see you. Lexi is a member, by the way. Loads and loads of bonus material for members, so please do become a member if you can. Alcaraz here leading 30-15. Sinner held to 30 in the previous game, losing 1 point on a double fault. Olympic doubles too as well. Indeed, Ashley. Yeah, how can we forget that one? Yeah. So I think, yeah, by some margin, I think she's the most successful friend of the show. $30-15 here, Carlos. Into the backhand of Jannik. Ooh, he's gone slightly wide there on that forehand. So it is 30 all. A little bit of pressure here on the Carlos serve. I would say that neither have exactly set the world alight thus far, albeit that we are in the very early stages of this match. But we're not quite seeing any of the epic points that they have so often produced in the past just yet. Okay, Alcaraz going out wide. It's a good forehand return, but lovely Carlos there deceiving Jannik by going behind him there with that forehand. It was very, very smart. Into the net on the first serve, but we have got a game point here for Carlos Alcaraz. Backhand return into the backhand of Carlos. Backhand to backhand exchange at the moment. Who has the better backhand? I would say Jannik Sinner, but that's a lovely inside-out forehand there from Jannik Sinner to bring up deuce. Shot of the match so far? Maybe. Very close to the line. 7 minutes in. Maybe Carlos should have just kept it on that. It was a bit too loopy, that forehand, that backhand, sorry, that gave Jannik Sinner the chance to sort of run around his backhand. Crowd pretty happy with that one. Alcaraz now does have a game point. After an unreturned serve. Good depth there from both players, actually. Oh, and Sinner hits the net and it goes out, much to the relief of Carlos Alcaraz. And it is 1 game all. Let's have a quick look at the live chat. Thank you, Lexi, for your donation. Wonderful. You are the 3rd person who has donated one way or another. Carl became a member earlier, so thank you for that, Carl London Taylor. Much appreciated. Ashley and Lexi are already members, and both of them have made donations to the show that help us keep going. So thank you for that. 1 game all here. Jannik Sinner to serve. Okay. 1,500 people watching on X, so thank you for joining us. Do give us a follow on X or on Instagram at TalkingTennisTT. So we see these 2 players in a rally here at 1 game all. Jannik Sinner serving. Not had a break point just yet, but we have got love 15 here on the Jannik serve. The Italian Davis Cup coach there, or sorry, Davis Cup captain watching. We had the Italian president watching Jasmine Paolini yesterday. Are we going to get an Italian double in terms of Rome winners this year? Well, we'll see. Good first serve there from Jannik Sinner. Also, let me know in the live chat who you think's winning the French Open, both men and women. Forehand to forehand exchange right now at 15 all. Pretty low over the net there from Alcaraz. In fact, he was going too low as it was in the end, and he puts his backhand into the net. No worries, Lexi. We'll have plenty more Yala content coming as well. Of course, she'll be in the French Open main draw. We'll have the main draw live on the channel on Thursday, I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's on Thursday. But either way, it will be live on the channel. Jannik Sinner with an unreturned serve there, so he's brought up 40-15. Similar pattern to the first service games of Jannik. He got to 40-15 before double faulting for 40-30, but ultimately seeing out that first game. Those orange hats that we see many people wearing, I think they're pretty new and were available to purchase for €30 on site today. Hi, Ghosty. Backhand to backhand. There's a slice there from Carlos. It's interesting. Had some pretty good success with that slice. I think it was in Indian Wells last year. He's brought the error out of Jannik on the forehand side. (40-30). Remember, Jannik held to 30 in the previous game. Forehand from Carlos just over the net. Forehand again, Carlos. This time it goes into the net. Didn't cleanly strike that one. And it is 2-1 to Jannik Sinner. So I think it's time to have a look at the live chat and see what you guys have been saying. Some Iala love, but also some love as well for Jasmine Paolini. Actually keen to see Jasmine do well at Roland Garros, so much so she would love to see her actually win the title. Lots of hellos as well there from Ghosty, for example, for Lexi, Jake, Ashley, and myself. It looks like I don't get a kiss, though, Ghosty, which is extremely disappointing. I hope so. I think it would be nice. Of course, they did pretty well, losing to the eventual champions because Irani and Jasmine Paolini end up winning the title. Today. So Paolini, just incredible what's been going on with Jasmine over the last 15 months or so. Tim Hemmond talking about rivals.
So it's important that we have these new rivalries, especially when you think about Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic leaving the men's game. So Alcaraz and Sinner.
Talking about Federer, Nadal, Djokovic leaving the men's game. Well, one of them hasn't quite just left yet.
You're never quite sure what to expect. You know, he's been working very hard, obviously, in the gym and on the practice court, but matches are different. So I think it's been a great effort for him to get through to the final. Alcaraz coming through, having missed Madrid. A little bit of a question mark, but it's very exciting.
Do follow us on X and also on Instagram at Talking Tennis TT. And of course on YouTube, please do hit that like button. So 2-1 changeover, I should say 1-2, because it's going to be Alcaraz to serve here at 1-2. It's going to be a second serve as well for Jannik to look at. Ooh, and he's not going to look at it because it's a double fault. First one of the match from Carlos, but that is one each, albeit that Jannik's double fault came at a opportune moment, maybe. At least it wasn't too damaging for him in the first game. Thanks, Ghosty. Yeah, I mean, obviously love 15 is not the ideal start for this game. Let's see if there's another error forthcoming. There's good depth there from Carlos. That's good from Carlos, forcing the error on the forehand side from Jannik, so it's 15 all. Carlos, of course, has already achieved the same number of games that Casper Ruud did in the entire match. Not seen any drop shots yet from Carlos. I think we need to sort of see it. We'll be seeing it soon, I would have thought, but maybe Jannik is not quite as deep on the court as some of Carlos's opponents. I mean, he's not exactly a baseline hugger, but there's a backhand error, and maybe the first little bit of danger, I would say, for either on serve, because we've not had a 15-30 yet on either serve until right now. I don't, and I assume you mean just in general, not against each other. All I do know is that last year, Jannik was on an incredible run of something like, I don't know, was it 16 out of 17 tiebreaks he'd won? Something like that at one point last year. Look at Jannik here, pretty aggressive on that second serve, but actually a little too aggressive. He's gone long. Some Carlos Alcaraz support here in the chat. Hi, Yasmin. Yasmin, please do hit the like button, but also click subscribe if you haven't already done so. Wonderful to see so many people joining us across all our platforms on X, YouTube, and on Twitch. And Instagram as well. And ace down the tee, and suddenly that danger from 15-30 looks a lot better now at 40-30. See, Fergus has joined us on Instagram. And Eddie too. Hi, guys. Come join us in the live chat on YouTube. Of course, you can comment on Instagram as well. First serve here's into the net from Carlos. He's got a game point for 2-all. We've yet to see a break point in this match. Will we see one in this game? Slice there from Alcaraz. Backhand to backhand now. I think one thing you don't want to do, though, if you're Carlos probably too often, is as good as Sinner's backhand is. Oh, that's lovely there. A little bit of luck, though, probably for Sinner in terms of that net cord. But so we're at deuce. Second deuce of the match. Both deuces thus far have come on Carlos's serve. So Carlos here in his second service game and his second deuce service game. Mats Verlander there in the crowd. He will be picking up a golden racket at the end of this match in recognition of his services to tennis or his achievements in tennis. Anyway, unreturned serve there from Carlos, who's got a game point, thus avoiding the break point, at least for now. Backhand return from Jannik is long, and it is a hold for 2 games all. Slight bit of danger for Carlos at 15-30, and then arguably again at deuce. However, a couple of good serves, and he's out of a little hole, and it is 2 games all as we see Carlos's parents there in the crowd. His mother has a lanyard to suggest that she hasn't had to buy a ticket, but his father doesn't, so maybe he's had to buy one. And they weren't cheap, a few €100, I think. Not necessarily the best thing for tennis, but Italian tennis is certainly cashing in on a thriving period. We haven't quite seen the dynamics yet and the incredible shot making and athleticism from both players that, remember, we saw to an incredible level in that US Open semi-final, US Open quarterfinal in 2022. I think it's pretty clear that that's the best match that they've played, right? Head-to-head, of course, is 6-4, at least on the main tour in Carlos's favor. The Beijing final, that's maybe the second best match that they had, the Beijing final of 2024. I was at their Wimbledon encounter in 2022. It was a bit of a shock, actually, seeing Jannik win that one in 4 sets. 15 all here on the Sinner serve. But yeah, I think their US Open one in 2022 in the quarterfinal, I think, still stands out as their absolute elite. Unbelievable shot making, unbelievable athleticism. I just remember that for the screeching of the shoes constantly as they were sort of treating it as a natural surface rather than the hard court that, of course, it is at Flushing Meadow. A body serve there from Jannik Sinner, and it's reaping the reward because Carlos can't. It was an unorthodox return, and it went long, 30-15. Just having a look there at Jannik's run to the final. Dropping just 1 set to Tommy Paul, albeit that set was 6-1. Jake, not overly impressed with Carlos's kick serve. Ooh, Sinner goes long on the backhand there, so it's 30 all. No comment. Indeed, indeed he is, Jake. Who would be on the Mount Rushmore of talking tennis commentators, would you say? 4, you're at 4. Maybe that's harsh on the people that you miss out. But I guess there's different sorts, isn't there? There's the watch-along commentators, there's the expertise, there's the previews, all sorts of different ways of looking at it. Maybe more fun to say who would be on the Mount Rushmore of live chat regulars. Talking of which, thanks to Lexi and Ashley for their donations today. Also Carl for becoming a member. You can become a member just like Carl, just like Lexi, just like Ashley, by hitting that join button just below the screen. As we see these guys in a rally here, and we are at deuce. First time on the Sinner serve we've brought up a deuce. Was that a forced error? Not exactly. Jannik down the tee, but that's a really good serve. Carlos does okay to get a racket on it, but it's not good enough and it's gone long. So we have game point for Jannik Sinner. You're too kind, Ghosty. DK, Tom, Vanch and Brenner. Okay. I'll let Nick know. Oh, and I'm not on that list, Jake, either. Huh. But I can handle it. Just. Okay. Pretty close to the body there. Good return from Carlos. Arguably forcing the error. Deuce. Jake, should I just abandon this stream? After you forgetting me on the Mount Rushmore of talking tennis commentators. That's it, I'm off. Oh, I'm back again. I should change my name, but how can I change that? Surely it's pretty easy. Oh, here we go. I'm going to change it to @talking tennis TT. That is our name on both YouTube. Sorry, yeah, on YouTube, but it's also our name on X and on Instagram, and it would be great if you follow us there. We have our first break point of the match, ladies and gentlemen, in this game, which is 5.5 minutes old. It's come on the Jannik Sinner serve. It may have felt like previously Carlos's serve was under more pressure, having reached deuce on each of his 2 service games, but it's Jannik Sinner who's going to have to save his first break point of the match, and the first break point of the match. Gets a first serve in. Does he? No. I think that just clipped the net. Yes, indeed it did. So it's still a first serve. We see Carlos through the flowers there. It is a first serve from Carlos, sorry, from Jannik, and it's forced the error, arguably. It's gone long, and we are back to deuce, ladies and gentlemen. Do let me know in the live chat, where are you tuning in from? I am in Bonn, in Germany. But where are you? Backhand return. Backhand from Sinner's lovely. And Carlos can't do much with that. Game point, Jannik Sinner. Jake, are you a coffee lover? And if so, how do you take your coffee? Ghosty, I know, likes coffee. And I bet he's going for either the espresso or the Americano. I can't imagine him being a cappuccino guy. Over 7 minutes now for this game, but Jannik Sinner does have a game point here to put his fans out of their misery. Lovely forehand there. Carlos going very loopy with his and getting good depth on it too. But there's not enough depth there from Carlos, and it's actually put him in a bit of trouble, and Jannik has taken advantage. 3-2. I, on the other hand, in terms of my coffee selection, just depends on the moment, the time, where I am, what I'm up to. Ashley, showing some Canadian love there. She's suggesting she's in Canada watching this match. Toronto, Ashley? Sunny Southern California, where the sound of flip-flops. I thought you were more inland, Ghosty, or have you moved, or are you on vacation, or are you... What's your status? I thought you lived somewhere else in a different state. Asterisk time, Ghosty? Ghosty, it's a while since I mentioned the asterisk. That's borderline asterisk. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. Jake here saying he likes my streams alongside DK because you're always asking him great questions. Yeah, this is interesting. In career finals, both are extremely stellar. Of course, they can't both win today, but Sinner is 19-5 and Carlos is 18-6 in career finals. Sinner, of course, hasn't won against Carlos Alcaraz since Beijing semi-final. I think that was the match that he puked in, right? Or was it? No, maybe he puked against Medvedev in the final. Anyway, that was the tournament he puked in. Hasn't beaten Alcaraz in nearly 2 years. I think they've only played each other 3 times in that time, but Carlos won all of their encounters in 2024. It kind of made their battle in 2024 for number 1, for year-end number 1, for the slams, etc., and for the title of who had the better year. It made that battle particularly close at certain points, but I think in the end we all would go with Jannik having the better year. Of course, both having won 2 slams each, albeit I think much to maybe the annoyance of some, I quite like the value on the Roland Garros Wimbledon pair. Lovely forehand winner there from Alcaraz down the line to bring up 15 love. I think we're not talking about it because I think she was pretty stellar in the build before. In fact, she won that match, didn't she? Although she may have puked during the match as well. By the way, post-puke Peyton as well has a much better alliteration to it. Hi, Dave. Dave is a member, by the way. And you can become a member too by click and join. But Dave, can you please hit that like button if you haven't already done so? Alcaraz here looking pretty comfortable on serve. Maybe for the first time, he will avoid the deuce. It's an intriguing affair thus far, yet to hit the heights of some of their previous encounters, but long way to go yet. If we think about, the drop shot there, it's the first one of the match from Carlos, and it has worked. 3 game points for the Spaniard. Does she have haters, Ghosty? Maybe she does. Dave, is that you in that picture, by the way? I've always assumed it was, but it might not be. We do, but I think it's quite easy to work out, Jake. Damien, of course. Fergus, definitely. I mean, for some, Fergus is his new favourite, no doubt about it. Drop shot here from Jannik. It's not going to be good enough. Redrop from Carlos. Redrop from Jannik is beautiful. Best point of the match, no doubt about it. 3 drop shots in a row there. Back to back to back. One of the game points has been saved. 40-15. That was lovely. The first drop shot just wasn't good enough. That redrop, though, from Carlos was amazing. And the redrop, if it is such a thing, from Jannik was sublime. Look at that. Oh, by the way, I can't believe I've been on the stream for so long and I didn't tell you thus far. Yesterday, I played tennis. And I hit a shot that I just wish I had on camera. I did a backhand drop shot with so much spin. It went over the net, it bounced, and it bounced back on my side of the net. Woo! And on that bombshell, Ashley Woods has joined the chat. Hello, Ashley. Yes. My hair may have changed, but your sense of humor is still stellar. 32 minutes on the clock, and we are at 3-all. I said this was the most eagerly anticipated match since the Australian Open on the men's side. Is it maybe even the most anticipated match of the year, even though we've had a slam and they didn't play each other? I mean, were we pumped for Sinner against Zverev in the final? Maybe we were pumped for Zverev Djokovic. Maybe. Probably we were pumped for Alcaraz Djokovic for sure. And I'm not talking about whether we thought the match was amazing or not, but I'm just talking about that build-up, that anticipation. Ghosty, I detect some cynicism from you. That honestly, it's maybe it's a once in a lifetime moment, but yeah, real pity. At least I have an opponent who was there to verify it. Ashley, please hit that like button, by the way. We need to get you on during the French Open for sure, Ashley. Forehand to forehand exchange here. 15-all because Jannik has erred. What do we think of my background here, by the way? Of course, I've got that preview prediction thing there that kind of maybe messes things up a bit. But so is the opponent? Yeah, is the opponent allowed to whack it then and win the point potentially? I would say yes, Ashley. Different Ashley. Ashley with a Y. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was just... Yeah, I just wish that I'd had it on camera, but never mind. Yes, indeed, Sinner now is painting lines, 30-15. And yet, he can paint lines, but it's still a tight affair because we're now at 30-all. We have had one break point in the match. Pretty even, actually, so far. 1 ace each, 1 double fault each, 3 games, all 30-all. Double fault there, though, from I think from Sinner. So we are now at 2 double faults, as I say, how equal we are. Are we going to get another break point for Carlos Alcaraz, who's just held serve for the first time without needing a deuce? Does that suggest he's getting stronger on serve and looking more comfortable in that department? We'll see. Really deep return there and deep position return, but also good depth on his shot. A lot of topspin on that backhand as well. Some loopy backhands from Carlos today. Sticking on the backhand, but I thought he might go for a slice on 1 or 2 of those. Jannik coming into attack, and beautiful there from Jannik Sinner. Wow, yeah, that would be nuts. If you could lean over the net and whack it into the net, that would be wild. I mean, I don't know if that's ever even, I mean, it probably has happened somewhere in the world at some point, but have we actually got any evidence and video evidence of actually seeing it happen? I'm sure there's plenty where, as you say, you know, the guy has leant over, he's not touched the net, obviously with his T-shirt, famous example of that in Roland Garros, of course, with Djokovic in a semi-final against Nadal 11, 12 years ago. Jannik Sinner's held for 4-3 as we go for the change of ends, by the way. Yeah, I don't think he should be doing it too often. I don't think it's a particularly successful play that he should be practicing. Hit that like button, by the way. And of course, on YouTube, please do hit subscribe. Six out of 10 of you who are watching right now on YouTube are not subscribed. Okay? And it's so easy. Just click that button. We're also on Instagram and on X, so please do follow us there at Talking Tennis TT. Get your comments in the live chats. We'll get voting in our poll. I did have a poll on Twitter. I wonder how that ended. Okay, it ended 55-45, Alcaraz to Sinner. Last I checked on YouTube, Sinner was leading that poll. And it's still valid because they're very much on serve at the moment, 4-3. Very much on serve. Is that even a correct expression? Maybe that's why I'm not on Jake's Mount Rushmore of commentators for errors like that. Unforced indeed. I think, if I understand correctly, then yes, Ghosty. This is an interesting turn that this conversation has taken, but it's one I'm on board for. All because, and the reason why people are talking about this, because of my Hollywood popcorn blockbuster of a shot yesterday when I did a backhand slice drop shot that not only just landed beautifully. As I hit it, I thought, oh no, it's one of those drop shots that's just going to drop out, as in obviously on the left-hand side and into the tram line. It was pretty close. That was my biggest concern. When I saw it landed in, I was like, okay, that's good enough. My Italian opponent, David, was trying to chase it down, but the backspin on it meant he was never going to get it anyway. But I don't think he would have got it even without. However, it landed, it bounced, and it spun back on my side of the net. Boom. Okay, into the rally here. 4-3 to Sinner. Ooh, has Carlos gone long there? I think he has. Close call, but it is indeed out. Just out. Love 15. Is Jannik about to make his move? So, Carlos to serve. First serve is long. Okay, I might be clutching at straws here for Jannik, but love 15 and a second serve. He's yet to garner a break point, of course, in this match thus far. A few juices and a lovely kick serve there. Like he's shoving those comments of Jake's back down his throat with a lovely second serve, kick serve, which Jake said it was only okay. Discuss. 15 all. Cahill there shaking his head. I don't know if that's in response to Jake's criticism of Carlos's kick serve. I mean, I think running around the backhand is totally fine. I think Carlos has a very good backhand, but if you've got the opportunity to run around it and hit that forehand as well as he knows he can. 30-15, by the way. Good depth there from Jannik. Sorry, from Carlos to force the error from the Italian. You think too much, Sean? Okay, interesting viewpoint. I've not thought about it before. We're hoping to get Vanch on, by the way, at the end of this show for his thoughts on proceedings. Higher than you, Jake, I think. Higher than you. I think it's a pretty good kick serve. And if the world number one, Jannik Sinner, can't deal with it, well... Yeah, he did used to do it a lot, but I think, on clay especially, but I don't think you can blame it when Nadal has, in his own way, especially on clay, the best forehand of all time. Is that wild? You could talk about Federer and maybe less topspin, but more pizzazz, perhaps, working well on grass for him. Ooh, an attempt at a passing shot there from Jannik has not worked, and we're at 4 games all. Hi, Sean. Sean, please do hit that like button. How many likes are we on so far, Ghosty? Be good to get to 50 likes today. I'm going to guess that we're on 32 right now. Indeed, Dave. Ooh, not enough Norrie Nation love from Vanch. I think it's just that Norrie has been so far down the rankings and probably not getting quite enough wins to, bring him up into a conversation. Jake, you can, yeah. What's your adjustment? Although it depends on the adjustment. 34, okay. If you hit refresh on YouTube, by the way, Ghosty, that sometimes is what helps with the like count. I don't mean it doesn't push it up, but it just sometimes it doesn't adjust as you're watching live. You could watch live, and if you join at 7 likes, it doesn't adjust. Hi, Dan, by the way. Please, as well, can you also hit that like button? I want to know your Mount Rushmore for Talking Tennis commentators or Talking Tennis team members, if you like, but also maybe even for Talking Tennis live chatters. Who is on your Mount Rushmore? Of course, that means 4 names. We're at 30 love here on the Jannik serve. Some conversation between Carlos and his team. Good for you. Who have I usurped then, Jake? Who was it? Who was in your previous one that you've adjusted? Who have I beaten out? Was it Vance from the previous team? Yeah, we know about it, Ghosty. We know about it. But we don't have like the White Cliffs of Dover and ideas of putting faces on there. Maybe we should. 40 love here, Jannik Sinner. So 3 game points. Honestly, Dan, I think he should maybe pursue other careers for now. Commentary, maybe. Maybe he'd be good in commentary. I don't know. I just remember that little image of Andy sort of talking to so Andy Murray talking to Novak, like I think it was in Miami, and he's sort of showing him how to hit a return. And you can just see there were so many times that Novak would just sort of nod in Andy's direction. And it was just like a couple of friends, agreeing with each other. But maybe Novak needs a bit more zest in that relationship, if that makes sense. Dave, you've squeezed 5 onto your Mount Rushmore. Somehow. I mean, I'm not necessarily against it, but I'm against the fact that I'm not even in that 5. But like I said earlier, I'll survive. Are we talking about how we're taking our coffee? Jake, I've already responded. But who did I usurp from your original Mount Rushmore, Jake? I'm trying to recall. Did you have Vanch in your original Mount Rushmore? I don't think you did. We do need to see Nerland's Mount Rushmore. Yes, indeed. I'm just going back through the chat, Jake, to see who you had. Oh, it is Vanch. So Vanch has gone, and I've come in. Wow. Wow. Nerland. Okay, so it was Vanch, yeah. I don't find his voice intimidating, Dave. I find it soothing. I think he's got a great setup. I think it's obviously the mic as well. I'm sure he's professional, just as Miles is. He's got the shrubbery, the very clean and smooth background, and then just the dulcet tones of Tuned Into Tennis. Anyway, do give us a follow or a like on X and Instagram. I think it's just a follow, isn't it? I don't know why I've got like there, but do follow us on X and Instagram at Talking Tennis TT. We need more followers on Instagram. Nerland, why are you not following us on Instagram? Come on. 30 love here anyway for Alcaraz. I think all his drop shots today have succeeded, right? That was a lovely one there, for example. Shrubbery, Dave. Yes, he has a shrubbery. Quite often he has a shrubbery, just to the side, either nicely balanced as well. Just regular greenery. Anyway, let's get back to the match. 40 love for Carlos Alcaraz. That was an uncharacteristic forehand error from Jannik there. Nowhere near the levels that he was showing against Casper, but perhaps you could also say that Carlos is responsible for that. Of course, Carlos has already won 3 more games than the Norwegian. Yes, indeed. Me too. Me too. Nice kick serve there. I mean, maybe Jannik should have done better with it. But anyway, 5 games all. That tie-break record question, Ghosty, is looking more and more relevant. Down the tee, but it's going to be a second serve, is it? No, first serve, I think, because it clipped the net. Nice. Good for you, Jake. Okay, here we go. Is this going to be the break? We've had just one break point in the entire match. It came on the Jannik serve. Good depth there on that slice from Carlos, but then he's put the backhand into the net. 15 love. Hi to all of you tuning in on both X, but also on Instagram. There are thousands of you, and I'm not exaggerating, because we've crossed the 2,000 mark across all our platforms. Well over 2,000. So Jannik Sinner, 15 love here. Goes down the tee. Carlos gets his racket on it, but Jannik is in charge of this point with some good depth. Does Jannik come into the net? No, he doesn't. And forces the error from the forehand of Carlos as he goes long 30 love to the Italian. That just skimmed off the surface there. Maybe a little bit of luck there for Jannik Sinner. As Carlos laments and looks at the surface. Nerlan, you just got to wait your turn. Maybe Brenner is one of his favourites as well. I mean, I know Damien and Fergus definitely are two of his favourites, with Fergus at the top of the tree right now. 3 game points here for Jannik Sinner, 40 love. Goes down the tee, forehand return. He's gone down the tee quite a lot on that ad court side. Has that landed in? Yes, it has. So we're still very much in the rally here. Forehand from Carlos, forehand from Jannik. Good depth there from the Italian. No, it's gone too long, so 40-15. Tournament director Paolo Lorenzi. Just long, close call. Just centimeters in that one. Maybe. Yeah, I reckon his Mount Rushmore will be Damien, Brenner, Fergus. Yeah, maybe Mario. I think he likes Mario. He likes all of us, deep down. He'll never show it. Kirill was very understanding indeed. Forehand there. Plenty of loop on that forehand today. I don't necessarily, as Ghosty pointed out earlier, whether it's necessarily the right choice. And Carlos goes too loopy and too long. 6-5 Jannik Sinner. Another comfortable hold for the Italian. Remember, we've had just one break point thus far. Dan asking about which tournaments we're going to. Well, to be honest with you, Dan, I know I'm not the only one. I think we're getting pretty sick and tired of the treatment that we get at these tournaments. Let's just say we're not welcome, put it that way. And it's pretty painful, to be honest with you. And I'm let's say we're probably going to take a break, at least for main tour stuff. Maybe we'll still do. I mean, to be honest with you, yeah, it's a very long story over the last 2 years of how we've been treated on the tour. Yeah, it's actually quite sad in some ways, but also makes me quite annoyed. Anyway, there we go. We'll talk about that some other day, and maybe that'll be saved for either an article on the Talking Tennis website, which you can also check out, talking-tennis.com. Yeah, Dan, I it's a mixture of sadness and to be honest with you, anger as well at the way people like Mario, myself, even Damien have been treated at these tournaments. It's difficult for me to explain right now, but don't worry, you'll all find out in good time. And maybe you've even seen little snippets of our frustration. Yeah, that word, control, is the key word. It's honestly, it's Orwellian. It's Orwellian, Ghosty. It's scary. It's quite scary. People might think I'm being paranoid, but I've got lots of receipts to back up what I'm saying. Let's say that. Lots of lies, lots of misinformation, lots of just huge amounts of disrespect for people that are spending their money and time on following the sport, bringing it to a wider audience, but they don't want to bring it to a wider audience. That's not in their interests. Right, back to this though. We're at 15 all here on the Alcaraz serve. So Sinner is 3 points away from winning this set, but it is of course a long way to go. Well, a long way and also a short way. Could be done in 2 minutes, or we could be going to a tie break. Either way, we should be at the set's conclusion pretty soon. We're into the rally here. Is Alcaraz just a little bit tight there on some of these forehands? Maybe. That backhand was tight, and that's why I think it went long. 15-30. Thanks, Jake. 55 minutes on the clock. So just short of the hour. This set is coming to a crescendo one way or another right now, either on the Alcaraz serve or in a tiebreak. Yeah, you've not missed a huge amount, Ashley. We've only had one break point in the entire match, but we might be getting the first one on the Carlos Alcaraz serve in this game. And if we do, it'll bring up a set point or two for Jannik. Backhand return there from Jannik is putting Carlos under pressure. The forehand there, it all started with the backhand return there. And we've got 2 set points, 15-40. The most significant part of the match so far, without a shadow of a doubt. 2 set points for Jannik Sinner here. Let's stick with the match for now. Huge moment here. Huge moment, 15-40. Okay. Carlos Alcaraz, 15-40. Desperate for his first serve. He gets it. Jannik will be disappointed, though, with that. It was a good first serve, but Jannik really probably should be dealing with that. Hits it into the net. So 30-40. Still has a set point to go, though. His team look on. Cahill, of course, the Australian among them. Cahill, of course, will be going his separate ways later on this month. Forehand return there from Jannik. Forehand to the backhand of Jannik Sinner. Forehand. Backhand has gone wide there from Sinner. So we're at deuce. We are at deuce, ladies and gentlemen. 2 set points saved. Both on the Jannik side. Disappointing, I would say, for the Italian. Damien, I can see you were sending me WhatsApps. I'll come back to you in a moment. Brenner is indeed interested in doing a qualifying show. I would love you two to do it together, but it just depends on timing. I know it cannot be at 11 o'clock Central European time because Nick is doing WTA Weekly at that time. Forehand into the backhand of Jannik. Forehand now to the forehand of Jannik Sinner. Good depth there is there from Jannik. No, he's gone long. 3 points in a row. 3, I think, unforced errors in a row from Jannik Sinner. And we are now at game point for Carlos Alcaraz. We've had 3 break points in the entire set. 2 on the Carlos serve that we've just witnessed. And 1 earlier on the Jannik serve. Pretty tight affair. Fairly serve dominated despite these slow conditions that the Roman clay brings up. We have a game point for Carlos Alcaraz to force a first set tiebreak. Please, somebody in the live chat, let me know their tiebreak records, either against each other or perhaps more importantly, just this year in general. Jannik, of course, not played a huge amount of tennis this year, given that suspension he had. We're not in a tiebreak yet, though. Forehand there from Jannik should win the point and does. We're at deuce. Regarding their tiebreak record on the main tour, I'm seeing 1 go the way of Alcaraz. I'm seeing another one go the way of Alcaraz. I'm seeing another one go the way of Alcaraz. This is just between the 2 of them. I'm seeing 2 go the way of Sinner in that US Open quarterfinal. I'm seeing 1 go the way of Alcaraz in Indian Wells. Another one go the way of Alcaraz. Another one go the way of Sinner. Sinner. I think it's 5-4 to Alcaraz in their matchup together. Is that a winner from Jannik Sinner? We might not be getting a. Oh, it's out. Oh, I thought that landed in. My bad. I was sure it landed. I think Jannik thought so too. He was staring at the screen there, but Alcaraz very happy there to see that one go wide. Thought it landed in. Anyway, game point again for Carlos Alcaraz. 6 minutes on the clock for this game alone. An hour on the clock for the match, just about. First serve, not the best first serve in the world, I would argue. It's given Jannik a really good chance to get into the rally. In fact, he has. And it's Alcaraz who's erring into the net. As I say, we've not seen the highest of quality matches between these two thus far. Either way, it is building to a crescendo here in this first set because we're going to know who's going to win this first set in the first few minutes. He who wins the first set, by the way, it's not a huge indication as to how this match pans out. The winner of the first set has gone on to win the match 3, 4, 5 times in their 10. So it doesn't really tell us who's going to win the match. Just 5 times out of the 10, which is a pretty low ratio, I would argue. Has Jannik gone long there on the return? He has, yes. So another game point and another error, really, off the racket of one player or the other. So many unforced errors, I would argue, today. It was on the return, but Jannik should be landing that one. So yeah, who's won the first set in this encounter is not really indicate a huge amount. I'm going to put that out on Twitter. See how this goes. Forehand to forehand. Backhand of Carlos. Backhand of Jannik. Forehand to forehand again. And has that gone wide? It has. So we're going to go into a tie break. Okay, tie break time. Alcaraz wins the first point. Sorry about that, just putting a tweet out there. Disappointing volley there from Jannik. Jannik is certainly not hitting the heights of previous encounters in Rome, but also in this year. Remember, Jannik is unbeaten for the year so far. One love for Carlos with the mini break and an ace, as Ghosty points out. Ghosty, what are you doing using this metric, this European measurement? As you say, though, just centimeters in that one. We're looking at the mark there. The mark looked like it was out. But anyway, 2 love. Sinner there having a look at the mark as well. Okay, Alcaraz to serve. Goes down the tee. Is that another ace? It is. 2 aces in a row. And we've got 3 love on the scoreboard. Remember that tiebreak they had in Beijing last year in their last encounter, where actually Sinner went up 3 love in that one before Alcaraz reeled off 7 points in a row. First serve is wide from Jannik. We were talking about the serve dynamic and suggesting Sinner is the better serve of the two. I think there's little doubt about that, really. It's not a huge difference, but I would put Jannik in front. Good body serve there, though, from Jannik Sinner, and it forces the error, and we're at 3-1. Even though it's 3 love, we only have 1 mini break advantage for Carlos right now. And normally I wouldn't be too big on the sort of breaks and stuff because it is clay and it is Rome. But given that it's been a pretty serve-dominant match thus far with just 3 break points in that entire first set, maybe the mini break advantage is a bit more significant than normal. First serve, because that clipped the net but landed in. 202 kilometers an hour, that serve from the Italian. But it is going to be a second serve here for Carlos to look at. I think he'd be really keen to rubber stamp his authority in this set, in this tiebreak by winning this next point. Funny bounce, but the backhand is really good depth on that backhand. I think it's helped him, but not enough depth there from Carlos. Changing it up. Good angle there from Jannik. Forehand from Jannik, inside in. And it's a forehand into the net from Carlos Alcaraz to a clenched fist from Jannik Sinner. So it is 3-2. Just a 1 mini break advantage shortly before the change of ends. calm-looking Jannik Sinner team. Carlos will be disappointed that he couldn't have kept that rally going for a bit longer. Started off really well with a lot of depth on one of those shots. I think it was perhaps the return of serve. But then ceded that advantage with a short forehand shortly afterwards. But a good first serve there from Carlos. He served well, both in this set, but especially in this tiebreak. 4-2, he leads at the change of ends. Let's have a quick look at the live chat. I've neglected it for the last few minutes, as I'm sure you can imagine. Please, by the way, hit that like button on YouTube. Pity Jake. How many likes are we at now on YouTube? I've not noticed, but oh yes, I'm watching it now with the bottles. Yes, if you're watching on YouTube as well, 6 out of 10 are not subscribers. So please do hit that subscribe button. It helps us immensely. Okay, 4-3. The mini break advantage has come back for Jannik Sinner. So, are we seeing a twist in this tie break? A good return. And it's 4-3. Sorry, good return. It's a double fault. 4-3. Now, that was not a good time to hit your second double fault of the match. Just after I was saying how well he's been serving, both in terms of this tie break, but also in the match. Anyway, 3-4. Over to Jannik. Oh, a net cord there goes the way of Carlos, but it's not won the point outright just yet. He's obviously going to go for the lob. Oh, lovely there from... No! He's missed the smash. To the apologies of Carlos Alcaraz. It was a good lob. I thought that smash was going to land in. I mean, it wasn't an easy smash, by the way, for those of you not watching on TV, before you start thinking that Jannik has missed a gimme. It was a real stretch. But I thought he got enough on it, but no, he didn't. Just wide. My goodness me. How many points in this tiebreak have been centimeters either way? Anyway, 3-5, Jannik serve. He's had 2 set points in this first set. Of course, they did come on the Alcaraz serve. Oh, 38 likes. I'm liking that. Carlos going big, though, but trying to go over the highest part of the net. Hits it into the net. I feel like we've had a lot of unforced errors as well today, Jake. Yeah. We'll see what they are at the end of this set. I'm sure we'll get them on our screen, hopefully before you have to go to work. 5-4. A wafer-thin advantage for the Spaniard, Carlos Alcaraz. Just the one mini break advantage. He had it. He seeded it. He's got it back again. Is it going to be enough to see him over the line? 2 holes of serve here, and he will indeed win this first set. Remember, just 5 times out of 10, the winner of the first set in this Alcaraz-Sinner rivalry has gone on to win the match. I think it's pretty significant, because normally you'd be looking at 70, 80% of the time that would be the winner of the match. But just 50% in this rivalry. Lovely forehand winner there. Jannik a little slow to get to that one. Little slow. I thought he would... A fit and firing Jannik, I would normally expect to at least get a racket on that one and make Alcaraz hit another ball, but he didn't. 6-4. Moved like a lumberjack there rather than the gazelle that I would normally expect from the Italian. Looked like he had a belly full of pasta rather than a belly full of zest and energy. 6-4 anyway. 2 set points now. First ones of the match for Carlos. Goes long on the first serve. Remember, he started this tiebreak serving so well, put him into a 4-2 lead. Anyway, 6-4. He's still got a pretty good situation here. Run around forehand return there from Jannik. Good depth on that. Jannik, is he in charge of this rally? Maybe. Good depth again there from Jannik. Short ball from Carlos. Carlos, is he going to defend it? Is that going to land in? No, it's not. So, 6-5. 5-6. The mini break has come back for Jannik Sinner. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. but it's still a set point, albeit this one is on the Jannik Sinner serve. Jannik Sinner had 2 set points at 5-6, or 6-5, I should say, on the Alcaraz serve. Both came and went. Alcaraz is now on his second set point. This one's on the Jannik serve. What can he do? Can Jannik get the first serve in? Can. Good depth there on that serve, close to the service line. Now, though, they're into the rally. Carlos dealt with that well. Forehand to forehand right now. Carlos maybe is in charge of this rally, moving Jannik around. But it's still backhand to backhand. Lovely backhand there. Carlos comes into the net. Is that going to land in? It is. Is he going to get the volley? He is. And Jannik Sinner puts it... Sorry, Carlos Alcaraz says vamos and puts his hand to his ear, looks towards his team, looks towards the crowd, wins the first set on a tiebreak, 7-6. And he'll be very pleased with that. Now, let's have a look at those stats that we spoke about. Let's see what they've got to say, but I'm just seeing a replay of that rally. Vamos, indeed, particularly if you're a Carlos Alcaraz fan. Wins it 7-6 to the delight of both his team and his fans, both in the stadium and around the world. Took the risks in that rally, was the aggressor, was a good first serve from Jannik, landing close to the service line, but Carlos dealt with it well, was in the rally, up the tempo, 1 hour, 11 minutes on the clock, leads this match by 1-0. He was the one with the initiative in that rally. Here we go. Let's have a quick look at some of these stats. Wow. 39 unforced errors off the racket of both players in that first set. 39 unforced errors. 3 more from Sinner than Alcaraz, arguably making the difference. Oh, we've got Ubaldo.
First of all, he had 2 set points in the first set and he missed them. The first one was a good serve by Alcaraz, 199 kilometers. The second was a mistake.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Anyway, let's get some of those stats on the screen for you. I want to show you what those stats were. Say 39... Oh, actually 41, not 39. Let's edit that quickly. 41. Unforced errors, I should say. There we go. 9 winners as well from Alcaraz. Not a huge amount from a set that went to a tiebreak. We are already into the second set with Alcaraz serving, by the way. But there's the unforced error count that I wanted to highlight. And there are some of those stats. I'm just going to put my phone on charge, ladies and gentlemen. So my stream will be slightly behind for the next few minutes, just while I put some extra juice into my much needed phone, or much needed juice into my phone. There we go. Carlos there. Super Dave says, nice job, Carlos. 22 unforced errors indeed, Jake. Indeed. By the way, 2,500 people have tuned in thus far on X. Please do give us a retweet on X so you can share the love and also share this episode. And of course, give us a follow both on X and on Instagram at Talking Tennis TT. You can probably guess from the cheers as to how this second set is beginning. Love 30 on the Alcaraz serve. Neither player, of course, has been broken thus far. We had 12 games, all holds, 4 break points for both players, two each, I should say. So 4 break points in total in that first set, in a fairly serve-dominated first set. The tiebreak was fairly serve-dominated too. It's going to be a second serve here as well for Jannik Sinner to look at on the Carlos Alcaraz serve. So this match, which is obviously swung in the favor of Alcaraz after he won that first set, but we could be seeing a quick swing just towards the Italian. It's a good second serve, though, with some nice depth from that. Good angle there from Carlos, but lovely forehand from Jannik. He's now going to have to come into the net. Oh, no, he quickly retreats to the baseline, which tells you a lot about how Jannik feels at the net, I think. Probably especially in terms of the fact to be up against Carlos. We're now into a neutral scenario in this rally. Funny bounce there. That's lucky for Carlos. He puts his hand up. Gets a lucky bounce that forced the error off the racket of Jannik. I think that would probably go down as an unforced error for many of those watching, but yeah, that was unfortunate. Backhand return. Now into Carlos Alcaraz. Backhand across court. Lovely there from Carlos. Lovely angle. Lovely jubbly, as they would say on Only Fools and Horses, Del Boy. If you're familiar with that show, if you're not, don't worry about it. But still hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. 30 all. Carlos there almost in the... Jannik almost in the flower bed as he stretched with that unbelievable angle that Carlos could found. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a native English speaker, believe it or not. Forehand return there from Jannik has gone too long. It's a good first serve there from Carlos Alcaraz, who, as I say, today has served pretty well. Including that's kick serve, Jake, if you're still with us. If you're not, have a nice night shift if you possibly can. Drop shot here from Carlos. Most have worked today. That one didn't, but he's going to lob Jannik, and it's going to go out. Did not work. I think it's fair to say, that drop shot. Deuce. Love 30 to 40-30 to Deuce. I'm sure love 30, Carlos would have taken Deuce, though, to be fair. Well left there from Jannik. I thought he was going to try and hit that with a sort of backhand smash, but in the end, left it well. Ventaggio Alcaraz, says our American umpire. Ventaggio, in a sort of Brad Pitt-esque way, if you know the film Inglourious Bastards. Alcaraz holds, big hold for him as he goes, yes, indeed, or he says something anyway, screeches out something. I wasn't quite paying attention, so I didn't hear what it was, but all you need to know is that Carlos Alcaraz has held for one love. Okay, it's going out wide more often than not on that first serve. Is Carlos Alcaraz, maybe that's a serve in general, I should say. Forcing Jannik out wide one way or another. Don't think he's necessarily preoccupied with aiming for either forehand or backhand. It's just pushing Jannik out wide and putting himself in charge of the rally. Okay, second serve here. Double fault from Jannik Sinner. Third one of the match. I think the first one came in the opening game when he was at 40-15. Those of you watching on YouTube, please do hit the like button. Hi, Connor. Connor, I'm not sure if you're new to the channel, but if you are, can you do hit that subscribe button for us? Second serve here, Jannik Sinner, love 15. Sinner stumbling at a bad time, indeed. And I think that's fair to say, Ghosty. Carlos would really be cementing his status as a favourite for the French Open if he was to go on and win the title here. Is Jannik okay? Just leaning down to his shoes there. Just blowing out as well his cheeks. Love 30. Are we seeing a really decisive moment in this match? Dave, we never found out. Is that you in that picture, Dave? Super Dave. Alcaraz does well to get his racket on that one. And Jannik erring there with another unforced error. Really had a really good chance to put that forehand away and didn't. The Jannik Sinner against Casper Ruud was killing those. But he didn't kill it there, and it's love 43 break points for Carlos Alcaraz. Huge moment in the match this last 5 or 10 minutes. That double fault, how costly was that for Sinner? Alcaraz in charge of this rally after a big forehand there. Run around forehand as well from Carlos again. Now he's on the backhand side, but he's still in charge of the rally here. Changes it up a little bit. We're probably back at neutral now. No, I'd say Carlos is in charge again. Just picking up the pace, and it's another error on the forehand side from Jannik Sinner, and we're at 2-love Carlos Alcaraz. Long way back right now for Jannik Sinner, down a set and a break. We've got the first break of the match at the beginning of this second set. $15-love now on the Alcaraz serve. I'm going to go back to my phone, which should give me a slightly speedier stream. Indeed, it is 15-all on my phone. Yep, that's me, says Dave. Ghosty. What is Swing Vision? Is that something where it records you playing? Dave, by the way, I think you were here when we were talking about it, because I remember you heard about my incredible drop shot yesterday that spun back onto my side of the net. Anyway, sorry, I've been talking about that far too often. I haven't mentioned Man United or the Europa League final, or the fact that I have written a book, by the way, called Even the Defeats, which haven't mentioned for quite some time, Ghosty, by the way. How Sir Alex Ferguson drew inspiration from Manchester United's losses to mastermind some of their greatest triumphs. Look at that. That's what you're all here for, really, isn't it? You're all here to hear about that book and Man United in particular. You're not here for the tennis and the most eagerly anticipated match of the year between Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner at this decisive moment in the match. You're not here for that. Well, if you're a Jannik Sinner fan, these are slightly depressing times regarding this final. But maybe this was just one match, one step too far. But by the way, if Alcaraz was to win this, it would be 4 in a row for Carlos in their rivalry on the main tour. It was 4-3 Jannik Sinner. This time last year? Let me have a quick look. Not quite this time last year. Going into Indian Wells 2024, it was 4-3 Jannik Sinner. He won that Beijing semi-final. Quite comfortably in the end. Good forehand there from Carlos. And he has held. 3-love, he leads. And I said it was a long way back at 2-love. It feels like a long way back at 3-love. Hey, Yasmin. Looking at the Rome skyline. Wonder what the Pope is thinking of all this. Was there a miss hit there from Carlos? If there was, everything's going his way right now, but that lovely drop shot. Okay. By the way, if you want to become a member of the Talking Tennis community, click join. There's a join button just below this screen. You can click that. You can become a member from as little as €2 or $2 a month. There's also other options to pay a little bit more where you'll get even more bonuses and perks. But the biggest perk you'll get is extra footage, extra tennis footage, including interviews, etc., with some of the players on the tour, including Naomi Osaka, Daniel Collins, Coco Gauff, many, many more. Well, both men's and the women's side. Plenty of extra footage. And yeah, you can do so. And you'll be helping the channel as well from as little as €2 or $2 a month. And we also have live streams sometimes that are for members only as well. Okay. 3-love, Carlos Alcaraz leads. As I say, it's 6-4 in the rivalry in terms of their head-to-head. Their most recent encounter coming in Beijing last year. And of course, going into the French Open, I think it would just increase the sort of... I would make Alcaraz probably the favorite going into the French Open. I think there would be a case if Jannik Sinner won this final of swinging towards Jannik. I still think, I think if it goes 3 sets and Jannik was to come from behind, I still might be thinking Carlos. Talking to Carlos, I want to write to you, Carlos. $15-love here on the Jannik serve. Just looking at this rally right now. Backhand to backhand. I mean, 4-love, and you would think that would be it. Particularly the way Carlos has been serving. Lovely backhand down the line there. Lovely taking that on the rise. Taking the initiative. Just like he did in that most crucial moment in that tiebreak at 6-5. Or 5-6 because it was Jannik serving. He was the one who was just increasing the pace. Just increasing the tempo. Just increasing the risk with most shots in that decisive point that won in the first set. Just seeing here, Jannik, is he going to win this point to go 30-15, or is he going to go 15-30? He's going to go 15-30 because of a wayward backhand volley, albeit on the rise. He wasn't quite a smash, really. I think he was going to be in big trouble even if it had landed in, but because he was never going to sort of smash it on that side, I don't think. 15-30. Ozan, where have you been? Missing you. I was thinking of you just earlier, thinking, wow, where has Ozan been? Hi, Kanyi Ngosi. Can you please, first of all, hit the like button? And can you, I believe you are new, so please hit subscribe. Ozan, why do you never tune in on YouTube, by the way? It's no problem. You can watch from whatever platform you like. But I remember you being on YouTube quite a lot, but now you're pretty insistent on talking via Twitter. 15:30 here on the Jannik serve. Cross, forehand now to the forehand. Backhand from Jannik. Slice drop shot there. Oh, it's lovely. It's helped draw the error. We've got 2 break points here for Carlos Alcaraz, which would be a huge, and not even probably Jannik Sinner could come back from 7-6 4 love, should it go that way. Some glum-looking Italians there watching on. And it's going to be a second serve. Wow, just think about 15-40 on the Carlos Alcaraz serve at 5-6. Good return there from Carlos. Forehand to the backhand of Carlos, but Jannik is now in charge of this rally. Should put that ball away, doesn't quite. Comes into the net. Oh my goodness me, what is that from Jannik Sinner? That volley on top of the net. Dearie me. Jannik Sinner has certainly had better days at the office, that is for sure. And that is probably the low point of it all. I think, Ghosty, even you would have put that one away. I certainly would have done. No, I would have done. But Jannik Sinner wasn't able to, and it's 4-love, Carlos Alcaraz. 1 set and 4-love. It's surely all over now. Indeed, Jasmine Paolini winning both the singles and the doubles. Okay. Alcaraz here, love 15. So some good news for Jannik and his fans. Oh, but that serve down the tee from Alcaraz, bringing up his 4th ace of the match. He has served well today. But arguably, it's the unforced error count, basically, the one that's sort of erred least. Unusually in what's generally a fairly attacking rivalry. Right, I'm going to go back to the phone because that's quicker. (30-15) here on the Alcaraz serve. Out to the backhand of Sinner, but Alcaraz errs on the forehand, and it's at 30-all. Is Jannik going to get his first break of the match? Just to keep Carlos honest, so to speak. We keep seeing some fair-haired people in the crowd, a fair-haired couple. I'm assuming that's Jannik's parents. Of the last 27 points, Alcaraz has won 20. Going to be a second serve here for Sinner to look at. Can he get his 3rd break point of the match? His previous 2 coming were actually set points, one of which was on a second serve from Alcaraz. Backhand from Sinner, backhand from Alcaraz, backhand to backhand right now. Forehand to forehand right now. Drop shot from Alcaraz. Too good. Just too good 40-30. Game point for 5-love. It's just beautiful, that drop shot. And it's pretty much, I think with maybe one exception, has worked for Carlos today throughout. So we're looking at probably something like 7 out of 8 times he's done it and he's won the point. Drop shot winners 4. Oh, that's a nice backhand there from Sinner. Is he going to put that volley away? Not quite. Oh, that's going to land in. How has Alcaraz got back into that point? How has Carlos Alcaraz won that point? Maybe with a little bit of help from Jannik Sinner. He had another volley on top of the net. This time he didn't miss it, but perhaps he was still thinking of that previous volley that he dumped into the net inexplicably. And so he probably took a bit more caution on that volley. And as a result, Carlos was able to get back into the point. Wow. 5-love. When was the last time Jannik Sinner was bageled? Nearly happened on Friday against Tommy Paul. Indeed, Jose Morgado tweeting here. What a point for Carlos to win that most recent one. Wow, indeed, Lexi. Wow, indeed. We are very, very close to the end of this particular encounter. Vanch is going to join us at the conclusion, so please stay with us. Don't go anywhere. How many likes? Did we get to 50 likes yet on YouTube? Did we get to 50 likes? One Spanish dude in the audience slow clapping. That's quite funny. Indeed, usually it is Jannik Sinner doing the bageling. Yeah, I wonder when he was last bagel. Anyway, it's not been bailed yet. He's serving here at love 5. It's going to be a second serve for Alcaraz to look at, though. Forehand from Carlos. Good depth there. Is it gone? No, it's gone long, I think. So it's 15 love. Jannik Sinner leads 15 love. Good backhand return there, but it's a lovely backhand down the line from Jannik Sinner to force it to 30 love. It's a lovely backhand return, but Jannik dealt with it so well. And now Jannik Sinner's at 40 love, 3 game points to avoid the bagel. Yasmin's obviously a huge Carlos Alcaraz fan. Backhand return from Carlos is into the net. And so Jannik Sinner does indeed hold. 1-5. Serving for the title, Carlos Alcaraz, his first title in Rome. Whoever wins today, it was always going to be a first. Backhand there into the net from Sinner. So often today he's erred, and he errs once again as Alcaraz edges closer to the title. Carlos Alcaraz here, 30 love now on his serve. He's close, ladies and gentlemen. He's very, very close. 2 points away right now. Remember, at 5-6, 15-40. Huge moment there when Sinner wasn't able to break and win that first set. Good return there from Jannik, and it's forced the error, so 30-15. Making Carlos wait a little bit. Remember, they played each other 3 times last year. Carlos won each and every one of them. I think that he won them all, though, by going the distance. 5 sets, 3 sets, 3 sets. So this will be the first straight sets win for Carlos. Maybe the first one in their rivalry. He's going to have 2 championship points. Jannik Sinner goes long. No, Carlos won their first encounter in Paris Masters in straight sets. He also won their Indian Wells in 2023 encounter in straight sets. Anyway, back to the present. 2 championship points for Carlos Alcaraz. Where are you going with this serve? You're going down the tee. It's a forehand return. It's a mishit shank from Carlos Alcaraz. So we've got one of the championship points saved. 40-30. Deuce or championship? Deuce or championship? What is incoming? Deuce or championship? Backhand return. Forehand here from Carlos. Comes into the net. Doesn't put the smash away. And we're at deuce. Yes. That thing there, by the way. Follow us on Instagram and on X at Talking Tennis TT. It was a real stretch of a smash, and he could only just get the frame of his racket on it. Which is why he ended up losing that point. Jannik did really well to stay in that point, really. Deuce. Forehand return. Backhand from Carlos. Low net clearance there from the Spaniard. Forehand winner there from Carlos Alcaraz. Forehand winner, Carlos Alcaraz. 3rd match point. To win his 4th match in a row against Jannik Sinner. And more importantly, his first ever Rome Masters 1000. Lost to Marajan famously early on in 2023. Didn't compete in 2024 due to injury. Pulled out. Withdrew in 2022. Keeping himself fresh for the French Open. Good first serve there from Carlos Alcaraz. Carlos Alcaraz drop shot. Is it going to be enough to win the point? Yes, it is in the end. Wow, what a match point that indeed was. Carlos Alcaraz beats Jannik Sinner 7-6, 6-1. Wow, indeed. Let's go quickly to the live chat to see what people are saying. Sinner not at his best, as Ghosty says. Indeed. Lexi there saying, thank you, wonderful. Please all hit that like button. Not long left. Hopefully, Vanch is going to be joining us in a moment. A day of unforced errors, perhaps. A day as well where, you know, there are always moments in a tennis match, even from a straight sets win, which looks reasonably comfortable on paper. But remember that moment when at 15-40, Carlos Alcaraz was serving. I think he got a first serve in for one of those. I think the first set point that Jannik had, that really helped him save that one. But on the second one, Jannik will be very disappointed how he dealt with that second serve and how that point played out. And it went back to deuce. And Carlos didn't really look back. He went up an early mini break, 1-love, which he never ceded really. I think he did cede it, but he never went behind in the tiebreak anyway. Went 4-2 at the change of ends. Did cede the mini break, was at 4-3. But ultimately always had that slight advantage in the tiebreak. And on set point, It was Carlos who had the chance to increase. Both had chances to increase the pressure on that set point with Sinner serving. But it was Carlos who was just eking out a little bit more pressure on that. What is Carlos going to do when he signs the camera? Let's have a quick look. But anyway, grazie, Roma. And a love heart from Carlos Alcaraz. I'm sure we're going to get some stats on the screen for you shortly. I will be sharing those with you in a moment. Let's share a picture of Carlos Alcaraz looking pretty happy. Grazie, Roma, and a heart. Let's get a picture of this and then put that out there to the masses on X or Twitter, whichever you prefer to know it as. So here come those stats. 31 unforced errors in the end off the racket of Alcaraz. So, in fact, it ended up being worse for Carlos there. But he really in that second set, look at the winner count. I think he put a lot more winners in that second set. I say a lot more. I think it was 10 in the second set, 9 in the first set, which, of course, is not a lot more. But it is a lot more when you consider there was only 7 games in that second set, which was probably about half an hour compared to over an hour for the first set. With obviously 13 games if you count the tiebreak as a game. Let's put that out there on Twitter. And let's share it with you right now so you can see some of those crucial stats, which basically saw Carlos Alcaraz win 7-6, 6-1. I'll also share this Grazie Roma thing that he wrote on the camera. Wonderful to have so many of you tune in today, by the way. Please do hit that like button if you're watching on YouTube. Also, please hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're watching on Twitter or X, do hit the retweet button. Anyway, yeah, grazie Roma. Okay, let's go to some of the stats from this affair. As I said to you, I would like to share them. 19 winners off the racket of Alcaraz, just 7 off the racket of Sinner. Now, a couple of factors. I do think that he probably wasn't quite aggressive enough at times today. And even when he was aggressive, too many errors when he was trying to pick up the pace. And then there was those 2 volleys that we think about in that second set. One led to one of the breaks. One was there was just those 2 volleys. One that led to a break where he dumps it into the net when he was on top of the net. I don't know how he missed that one. As I said at the moment, I said I would have put it away. Maybe even Ghosty would have put that one away. There was another one as well where he went too cautiously. He was on top of the rally, but probably thinking about that previous volley that hadn't worked out. And so was too cautious there. And once again, Alcaraz punished him. But yeah, so 19 winners, almost 3 times the number of winners off the racket of Alcaraz compared to Sinner today. The unforced error count was too high from both. But ultimately, it's Alcaraz with the most important stat of all, 7-6, 6-1 to win his first ever Rome title. Do let me know your thoughts in the live chat. I'm just going to check with Vanch to see if he is indeed coming. There will be, of course, the on-court ceremony. As we see Carlos Alcaraz clapping. It was not the best Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner encounter. That is for sure. When we think of some of their classics from the past. Both served pretty well. I think Carlos served really well. Didn't get broken all match. I think he had just 2 break points to save in the entire match. I could be wrong on that. Maybe, but I think also maybe just one step too far. One match too many. Of course, Jannik has now pulled out of Hamburg that he was due to play. He pulls out of Hamburg. Let's share some of these tweets from the Twitter sphere before the ceremony. We've got Brenner, of course, of the Talking Tennis community. Carlos Alcaraz wins his first Rome Masters, taking down Jannik Sinner. Let's hear what Carlos has got to say, by the way.
Well, I'm just really happy, to get my first Rome. I hope it's not gonna be the last one. But yeah, first of all, first thing that I want to say is I'm just really happy to see Jannik back at this amazing level. I mean, I'm pretty sure it wasn't easy for him. Coming from
three months without playing. And the first tournament he played, making the final of Master 1000 here in Rome is something insane. So I have to congratulate him for the great week for his team as well. I'm just super happy to see them around again, and just proud about myself, about the way that I approach the game, approach the match, mentally, in terms of hit the shots, play, tactically. I think I did it pretty well since the first opponent to the last one. I didn't do roller coaster, so it was I maintained my goal level during the whole match. So I'm just really proud about everything I've done today.
Drop just one set en route to the title.
That you have in major finals, it's something special. How much confidence does that give you going into Roland Garros now?
He wins finals pretty much.
Well, yes, all eyes is on Paris right now, Roland Garros. Everyone is really focused on that tournament. I mean, Billy Jannik win Rome. I think both things mixed together give you a great confidence coming to Paris. Obviously, I always say that the finals is not about playing. The finals is about winning. So go for it. I just repeated myself all the time that I'm gonna approach a final. So just really happy right now. I'm gonna enjoy this moment. I'm gonna enjoy this moment with my family, with my team, friends that came from home, and a few days resting just to realize what I achieved. That is important as well. And then my focus is around the rush. Thank you.
So there we go. The words of Carlos Alcaraz, the champion in Rome for the first time in his career. And he said he hopes not for the last. Let's have a quick look at some of these tweets out there. Since the ATP rankings were published in 1973, Carlos Alcaraz at 8-2 is one of just 3 to win 8+ of his first 10 ATP finals. Federer won 10 out of 10 and Leighton Hewitt won 8 out of 10. Absurd, they say. Connor here, Joyce, good guy. Make sure you give him a follow on Twitter. He works for the First Serve, also a pretty cool outlet from Australia. Meant to win Monte Carlo and Rome in the same season this century. Nadal, of course, doing it multiple occasions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 4, 6, 7 times. Djokovic doing it just once in 2015, and now Alcaraz doing it in 2025. Will he add the French Open again to his haul of titles? Of course, he's the reigning champ there, having won it last year. Of course, I recall Matthew in the live chat a few times this year has said Jannik Sinner's doing the calendar slam. Well, he may well have to beat Carlos Alcaraz in the French Open. They will be on opposite sides of the draw, of course, because Jannik Sinner will be number 1, but Carlos Alcaraz is returning to number 2 in the world, having won the title today. And Zverev, of course, going out in the quarterfinals, last year's champ. So Zverev is down to number 3. A huge question regarding that draw. Where will Zverev fall? He might not make the semifinals if form is anything to go by, but indeed he will still be, maybe fancy to make that semi-final. Just having a quick look at some tweets here from Mr. Kust. Indeed, Alcaraz was just trying to get through at 5-6, and Sinner had his opening there. Then came the magical volley to take the tiebreak, and with it a huge momentum swing. Carlos getting confident enough to start pulling out all his tricks. Good intel for both ahead of a potential Roland Garros final, of course, as I was just explaining, with Alcaraz going back to number 2 in the world. Carlos Alcaraz on clay at 22 years old. Here's Jose Morgado tweeting. Won Roland Garros, won 2 Madrids, won a Rome, won a Monte Carlo, Barcelona twice, Rio as well. Not too bad indeed. Not too bad indeed. Senor Alcaraz there with the nose strip, of course, which he tends to wear when he's maybe feeling a little bit under weather in terms of nasal stuff. But there was also, of course, the injury that he had, the abductor injury he picked up in Barcelona that forced his withdrawal from Madrid. We wondered how that might play out. Well, I tell you what, despite the leg strap he's had. Yeah, so I think that's 6 minutes. Vanch will be joining us in 6 minutes. So we'll stay live for a fair bit longer as we watch the trophy ceremony there. Jannik Sinner lifting it. Do let me know your thoughts in the live chat, both on today's match, but maybe you've got some thoughts ahead of the French Open. Maybe you've got some thoughts now. You think Alcaraz is definitely winning the title. Maybe Jannik just needs a few more matches and will be able to compete a lot harder come the French Open should these two meet in the final. Maybe you think, maybe you've got someone left field. Maybe you think Cam Norrie is winning the French Open. Or maybe more realistically, a Casper Ruud or Alexander Zverev. Okay, let's hear what Jannik Sinner's got to say. He'll probably be speaking in Italian, I'm guessing. So I might struggle with the translation, bearing in mind Italian is not one of my languages. Please, if you're watching on YouTube, such as this fella here, which I think is Sam, please do hit the like button, but also hit subscribe. He's saying, don't worry, you can speak Italian to Jannik, I'll understand. Because he was going to say something in Spanish, I think, for Carlos. Bravo and compliments to you and your team. Classic sort of speak, whether you speak Italian or not. You're a really strong player. And congrats, I think, on your season so far. I think, stagione, season. I think he's just highlighted the absence from the tour for 3 months.
Abbiamo portato a casa un trofeo molto speciale, anche se non volevamo quell'altro, però comunque.
Vanch is going to join in 10 minutes. I'm trying to get him to come here sooner, so please just hold with us. We'll be live for 15, 20 more minutes, I think, as a result. We'll hear from Carlos. If Carlos speaks Spanish, I can translate. If he speaks English, I won't need to. If he speaks Italian, I'll do my best. Oh, he's highlighting Jasmine Paolini's wins, of course, both in singles and in doubles. An incredible achievement for Jasmine and, of course, for Italian tennis, which is in an unbelievable moment right now. Hosting the Davis Cup in 2025. World #1 on the men's side. Davis Cup winners, Billie Jean King Cup winners last year as well. Davis Cup winners in 23 too. World #1 on the men's side. World #4 in Jasmine Paolini on the women's side. And of course, Paolini, as a result, will be seeded 4, pushing Iga Swiatek down to both world #5, but also seeded 5 going into the French Open. As I see a joke coming from Jannik Sinner. That is, I think, his parents there in the crowd. Jannik, of course, multilingual himself, speaks English, Italian, and German. And I think some Spanish too, as I see Carlos Alcaraz's parents as well, smiling and clapping. Yeah, and Jannik is thanking the crowd now, finally. He says in my last, I think finally as well, he says, I've got to thank the crowd. Obviously, he's had huge support this week. Unbelievable numbers, I think, in terms of crowd numbers this year. Already by the end of Wednesday, they had reached more in terms of attendance than last year when that was with 4 days to spare, I think. And that's, of course, not including the fact we had Italians in both singles and on the singles side on men's and women's. And, of course, they had the doubles final as well, which went the way of Irani and Paolini as well. As I say, just Italian tennis in its pomp right now. Probably the best moment in Italian tennis history, I would argue.
I guess there's still some people speak English, so thank you so much for coming, and thank you for watching at home, and see you guys next year.
See you next year. Of course, I don't need to translate that, but he then repeated it in Italian as well. As he said, there's probably some members of the audience who are English speakers. So we're going to get Carlos Alcaraz come up. Probably at some point during his speech, we might well get Vanch, so please stay with us. Good to know that you can translate for me, Pig Latin Ghosty. Yeah, as soon as we get Carlos uttering some words over the mic, I will turn the volume back up. But yeah, do let me know in the live chat. What do you think this means in terms of both players ahead of Roland Garros? I think it just cements Carlos as the favorite. I wouldn't quite go overwhelming. I probably wouldn't take Carlos over the field. Like, of course, you would have done with Rafa so many years. Like, you would have done Iga so often. I'm not sure even Iga was the favorite this year in going to the Women's French Open, but...
Your feelings right now. Well, just io parlo italiano, so io parlo inglese. Si quieres hablar italiano está perfecto. Ojalá. No, I just I wanna start with Jannik. You know, you've been out for the tour for three months. I can't imagine, you know, how tough and difficult it was for you, for your family, for your team. And coming back to the tour here at your home, really special tournament for you. I know it, and making such a great performance during the whole tournament, making the final here. So I have to congratulate you because it's amazing what you have done with your team. I can. Mi complimenti veramente a Jannik Sinner, non immagino nemmeno quanto sia stato difficile stare lontano da tutti per 3 mesi e poi tornare a un torneo così importante, mettere insieme delle prestazioni incredibili e arrivare fino alla finale. I'm not gonna get tired of saying, you know, how amazing person, athlete you are with your team. You know, working really hard every day just to make this possible, making your people proud. It is amazing. So congratulations to you, your family, and your team. Non smetterò mai di ricordare quanto sia una meravigliosa persona, la tua dedizione al lavoro, stai avendo un esempio anche felice tutte le persone che presenti, quindi complimenti a te e al tuo team. Then I would like to continue with my team, with my family, we came from an injury.
Indeed.
We were
pulled out of Madrid, struggled in that Barcelona final.
It was difficult, so we came here just to see what's gonna be, you know, the injury. Making such a good results, it means you know, the good team I have around, the good people that I have around, my family, my friends who work with me all the time when I was senior or playing a great tennis. So this trophy is more than yours than me, honestly, because without your work it was impossible. So thank you very much.
Of course, that's now 4 wins in a row for Carlos Alcaraz over Jannik Sinner, meaning the main tour head-to-head is now 7-4. He was 4-3 down, but having won in the Indian Wells semi-final last year, Roland Garros semi-final, and a Beijing final as well as today.
This tournament is really beautiful. So the guys who organized it, made this event possible. Thank you very much for all the support to make us feel at home. It's such a great tournament. So thank you to all the people who make this possible as well.
Yep, Carlos there doing due diligence and thanking those organising the tournament.
The people here in Italy, I have to say sorry. You know, I know that you guys wanted Jannik to win. I know that, but I have to say congratulations. Thank you to all of you because you were really respectful.
I'm not sure. They were respectful for Carlos today, no doubt about it, and probably throughout the tournament, but I'm not sure all players felt that respect.
And the match that I wasn't played against an Italian player, your support were amazing. And you know, it was, I felt like home. So thank you very much. And Italy, congratulations to the country as well, because I think, or I know you're living a great moment for tennis in Italy. Lorenzo, Jannik, Alcaraz, Paulini. I mean, you have such a great...
Lorenzo, I presume he means Musetti and not Sonego. See you next year, he says in Italian. So, Carlos Alcaraz, Rome champion, first time in his career, though it's not the first Masters 1000, of course, that he's won. He's won several. Off the top of my head, I'd say Indian Wells twice, Madrid twice, Monte Carlo, Rome now, Miami. I think he won that in 2022, did he? In Miami? Or maybe he's got 3 Indian Wells titles. As we see the parade, the trophy there. Carlos Alcaraz titles. He's up to world number 2, of course, as I said. It's his 3rd title for the year for Alcaraz, having won Rotterdam Indoor Hard for ATP 500. He's won now the 1000s of Monte Carlo and Rome. Last year, he won just 1,000 title, and that was the Indian Wells tournament. So he's already won more 1000s this year than last. He didn't win Indian Wells in 2022, of course, because Taylor Fritz won it, beating Rafa Nadal in the final. But he did win the Miami tournament a couple of weeks later. So, yeah. I think it's... How many 1000s is that altogether? Rome, Monte Carlo, Madrid twice, Indian Wells twice, and Miami. So I think it's 7 1000s he's now won. 4 Grand Slams, 2 Wimbledons, 1 French Open, 1 US Open. Is he going to add another French Open? Is he going to retain his crown? Let us know in the live chat. That'll probably be a question I'll be keen to ask Vanch, who should be with us any moment. It's why we're still staying live for just this little bit longer. So I see Alcaraz opening the champagne. Of course, we've had that documentary recently with Alcaraz and how he likes to enjoy life away from the court as well as at home, as well as on the court, I should say. Is he going to have a sip of that champagne? I think he was thinking about it, but I wonder if some of the backlash from the documentary, yeah, he's going to have a sip and he's going to enjoy it. He's probably looking towards his team, lifts the champagne up, has a laugh. So, yeah. Yes, indeed, he has earned it for sure. Let's have a quick look on Twitter while we wait for Mr. Vanch. See what's going down before we hear the wise words of Vanch on this particular final. Active players here. This is a tweet from Mario. Active players able to win 11 plus career ATP Tour titles. Just Novak Djokovic. Big titles this is, of course. 72 for Novak and 11 for Carlos. Those of you watching not still with us on YouTube, please do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Yes, as I said before, he's now leading that head-to-head 7-4. He was down 4-3 before last year when he won all 3 encounters last year, and he's won the next one as well this year. I'm going to just tell Fanch I've sent the link. Yeah, so he's won all 4 encounters now, 3 last year, and then this one to turn that head-to-head to 7-4. Of course, if you include the Challenger one, it'll be 8-4. Talking of challengers and qualifiers and all that stuff, we're going to have a show some point in the next few hours. Not sure exactly when, but some point in the next few hours. Brenner, I'm pretty sure, will be on it. Maybe with me, maybe with Damien, not sure. But previewing the qualifying for the French Open. We've also got WTA Weekly coming your way as well. So please do hit that like button and do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, so you don't miss out on all things tennis. There's Vanch now. That's cool. I'll just bring you forward. Vanch, tell me your first thought. Where was that final won and lost?
Well, it was won and lost in the 12th game of the first set, right? When Sinner had those 2 set points. He missed a forehand return on one of them. It was a good first serve from Carlos, kind of jammed Sinner at the hip. And then the second point with being Sinner tried to go change directions on a backhand down the line. But it wasn't really quite there. A little surprised he went for it, to be honest. And then, got through that tough deuce game and then played a really buttoned up tiebreak, Alcaraz. And the key for him, I think, was being really solid, being really patient, not trying to be spectacular, and just playing the moment right, moving Sinner around the court, really high margin, heavy topspin, not really trying to go for outrageous shot making or anything like that. Just it showed that the amount of matches that he's won in this clay court season, 15-1, I believe, but a lot of them, just finding a way, playing the important points well, like just that match toughness, I thought was a big difference. And I think for Sinner, it was probably a bridge just too far. Playing Carlos at this point, first went back.
Yeah, right. That one loss he had, of course, was the Barcelona final, which, of course, I don't want to put an asterisk against it. Holger deserved it in so many ways. But, of course, that was the match when he picked up the abductor injury, which forced him out of Madrid, which in a way makes this title run where he lost just one set a bit more special. Carlos even mentioned that injury in his speech there. He's also, is there something going on with Carlos right now? Are we seeing a slightly more solid version of him through this clay court season?
Yeah, I think particularly since the Draper match, or since he got out of the Hachinov match that he won 7-5 in the third, that was really tight win, important win for him, and then he was down 2-4 in the first set against Draper. Since then, I have been seeing him play a lot more disciplined, solid. There hasn't been as many ups and downs. There were some in the second set against Musetti, but it didn't last very long, and his forehand has been really good throughout these last 3 matches. The kick serve has been working really well. He's just been kind of relying on his speed and his athleticism a little bit more, and hasn't tried to do too much. Maybe also, that he dealt with the occasion and the crowd and everything really well, and that wasn't really a huge factor in this match. Perhaps the experience from the Musetti one also helped there.
Finally, I want some sort of French Open consequences, implications. Of course, the most objective one, at least, is the fact that who wins the title and Zverev going out in the quarters means that Alcaraz returns to number 2. So it does mean that we won't see either of these two play each other until at least the final in Roland Garros. And I think one of the big questions and interests from that now French Open draw will be, where will Zverev land, in which half? Because despite his travails in recent months, I think he's still, you'd think that Zverev may well make that semi-final and would make things very interesting on clay, I think, in particular, more than, say, other surfaces. For example, I remember Jannik Sinner playing, of course, Zverev in the Australian Open final this year. And, I think we all went into that final thinking Jannik would win. I think on clay would be a different occurrence, especially if Zverev plays well in Roland Garros and gets to that semi. But yeah, just some thoughts on some French Open implications, today's result and the Rome tournament in general.
Yeah, I think it's clear that Alcaraz is the favorite for the French, but also Sinner is number 2. Like, I would be surprised at this point if anybody other than those two won the French Open. Just feels like there's a big gap after Sinner and the rest. Your Zverevs and your Rudes and even potentially Musetti and Runa, like these guys all have a shot of going deep, but they most likely will have to get through both of these guys to win at least one of them. And so that draw will be pretty big. The fact that I think, there will be some opportunities. I think if Fritz still stays 4th, it's very unlikely that he would be in the semis. So
yeah, right. So Fritz is ranked 4 in the world, is he?
Yeah. So I think had Draper beaten Carlos, he would have been 4th.
Okay.
But so I'm interested to see where Draper lands as a result of that, and who's in Fritz's corner, because then we will have a real shot at one of the other players making a semi or a final. And also,
Yeah, right.
obviously, about Novak and what happens in Geneva this week, and where does he end up?
Yeah, right. But is I think his obviously Geneva will be significant for him in terms of how he plays, but
Yeah.
his ranking and his seeding is set now because the draw is on Thursday, I believe.
Mhm.
I think so. That'll be one to look out for. I'm sure we'll have that on the channel. I have got one sort of additional question for you, Vanch, which is related to some of the things that we just spoke about. Carlos or the field in the French Open?
Well, because Sinner is still pretty strong, and I expect him to play a lot better today than he did, in like 3 weeks from now in a potential matchup. So I still would lean the field, just because Sinner is there, Zverev is going to be tough in best of 5, and yeah, like I think I would take the field, but it's a good question actually.
Yeah, no, I think I would too, Vanch, because I don't think we're looking at sort of Rafa or Ego in her pomp sort of levels of dominance. I think Carlos, we do know he's a little vulnerable at times, albeit across 5 sets he has time to get that back. There's still the health issue that you might want to throw in there. And even if it's Carlos against Jannik in the final, you're probably making Carlos the favorite, but it's sort of 70-30, isn't it, in terms of that just one-off encounter? I mean, you might vary, you might make it 80-20, you might make it 60-40, whatever, but somewhere in that ballpark. But as a result, pre-tournament, I think you've got to take the field.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. I've got your Twitter handle on there, so make sure you give Vanch a follow there, along with how many thousands have you got on Twitter? I'm going to guess 12,500.
A little higher. I have 13,800.
Oh, I didn't mean to offend you there. Yeah, 13,800. So become one of the 13,800 and give Vanch a follow if you don't already. Do check out his work, of course, on the Tennis One app, which also have a X handle, of course, at Tennis One app. That's spelt out as in the one. I'll share that on the screen with you right now as well, so we can share our socials there for you. Big thanks for joining me, Vanch, and hearing your words of wisdom.
Yep, thanks for having me.
No problem at all. And to everyone else, wonderful to have you on board. Carlos Alcaraz is the Rome champion for the first time in his career, beating Jannik Sinner in the final 7-6, 6-1, returning to number 2 in the world. Will be seeded 2 as well at the French Open, and is arguably the man to beat as we head to Paris.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.